Hello, friends, and welcome back to yet another Fridays with Mrs. Ginny, and I am your host, Mrs. Ginny. Friends, the devil tried to take me down this week. I, I have been having such a hard time with this pregnancy. I mean, really, no good deed goes unpunished. I mean, really, because I have been I am one of the biggest advocates for life in general. You know, I'm very pro-life. I go to pro-life meetings and marches. Um, and so, and I want to have my own kids. I'm super anti-contraception. You know, that's a position that Christians should have, but that's for another live stream. And so I am just all around the right person to want to have kids and treat them right. You know, I want to be an adoptive parent. I tried to foster last year. That didn't really work out due to circumstances. But I want to be a parent. And now I have the opportunity, and my kid is literally fighting me tooth and nail. And it's just so hard. I've been getting a lot of headaches lately, randomly. Like, I threw up the other day. I haven't thrown up in weeks. Like, like I'm supposed to be feeling better. This is supposed to be the best time of the pregnancy. You know, your second trimester is where you're out of the first trimester, so you're not sick all the time, but you're not super big like you are in your third trimester. So this is supposed to be the sweet spot, and it still sucks. And so, hey, you know, what is that verse that says that many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord shall deliver them from them all? Okay, so I guess there's that. But other than that, I'm here. I'm making it work. I'm trying to do it, folks. So just bear with me. And I see that, okay, we already got some good conversations going in the chat, folks. This is gonna be a good show. And I knew that no matter what was happening, because I do have a headache sneaking up on me again. Like, I get a headache like every night now. But I was not gonna let anything stop me from doing the stream, because this is something that we need to talk about. And I was talking about this with one of my editors the other day. I think it was yesterday, earlier today. I don't remember. All my days run together. And she was like, this is such an important topic. And she was like, I'm glad you're going to be covering this. And she was talking about, let me pull up what she said, because she was using these big words. She went to college and I didn't. So what did she say? She said, and I quote, that neuropsychopharmacology, okay, covered this as well, and said that both are linked to a whole host of other mental illnesses. So speaking of homosexuality and pedophilia. And so, yes, friends, we already got a hater in the chat. I'm sure they're not still here, because this was the first comment that was left earlier today. But they said, Watinka says, what a vile thing to post. I have no words. You disgusting, bigoted piece of something. I don't know. You tell me. But anyways, folks, this is something people don't want you to talk about. Okay, I was telling my friend that sent me that message that this is just a big open secret. You know, the fact that there is such a strong and timeless link between homosexuality and pedophilia, people don't want you to talk about, even though it's literally right in front of your face. We see it all around us. And I have a lot of examples that I'm going to give. But more important than that, I have a video I'm going to show. Yes, you know, if it runs how it's supposed to. I'm not at home, as you can see again. I'm back on the road. We're taking a show on the road. I'm dog sitting again. But hopefully this video will play. I have it queued up, so hopefully it's already loaded and gotten its mind right. And so, yeah, we're going to be showing a video today that is predominantly a guy going into a gay bar and interviewing some of the patrons and asking them about what they think about the age of consent and when they became sexually active and how they discovered that they were homosexual. Very telling, very enlightening. And then there's some other clips too tossed in there. There's one of Ellen DeGeneres. There's one of that guy who became that meme way back. It wasn't that long ago, honestly, but it feels like it was like forever ago. It was the guy who was like, hide your kids, hide your wife, because they're raping everybody out here. It was that guy. Apparently he's queer, or he used to be queer. He's in there too. And then there's just a couple other clips that are kind of spliced in there to break up the video. But yeah, the predominant information of the video is the guy at the gay bar interviewing the patrons. And what they say is a very telling, very interesting information. And so, friends, we're going to jump into that. But of course, we got to get into our verse of the week, which is Luke 17:2, which I'm sure you're very familiar with, that says, "It were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck and he cast into the sea than that he should offend one of these little ones." And so that is the opinion that God has of pedophiles. That's what he thinks of them. It doesn't say that it would be better that he be sent into a cage for decades and reformed and then brought back into society and just like everything's hunky-dory. It doesn't say that, surprisingly. And so, yeah, when it comes to these pedophiles, when it comes to people that are predators, people who abuse children, I don't believe that they can be rehabilitated. Okay, so that's the official Mrs. Ginny stance on the matter. I'm not interested in rehabilitating people who want to do things with young children. Okay, and I think it's very important to specify what we're talking about because, especially today, I think like they're trying to muddy the waters, and I think that's intentional. And so when we're talking about pedophilia, let's kind of define our terms. Okay, I think that's important to do because what am I talking about? Am I talking about a 20-year-old with a 17-year-old? No. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. That's not what I feel like should be considered pedophilia. And like legitimately speaking, like if you really want to get technical, that's not really considered pedophilia. That's hebophilia. When you're attracted to somebody who is not legally of age but is past puberty or is like looks like they've gone through puberty. So if you're attracted to like a 16, 17, year old, then that's not really what I'm talking about because that's kind of more subjective. If you're like a young person too, if you're 21 with a 17-year-old, I don't consider you a pedophile. I think that's a reach. But what we're talking about specifically is like children who are obviously not gone through puberty, not close to puberty, okay? Like 13 and under, okay? If you have any type of sexual feelings towards people like that, it would be better for a millstone to be hanged around your neck and you'd be thrown into the depths of the sea, okay? That's my official stance. And so, that's there. And so, yeah. As far as I'm concerned, these people, they need to be thrown to the nearest wood chipper. As you can see, my tag that I have for tonight, I don't even know if I can say that on YouTube, but I was actually, I was driving home one day from another customer's house, and I saw this construction worker, he had a hoodie on that said that on the back of it. And I wasn't close enough to him to where I could like roll down my window and say, "I love your hoodie." But I was looking at it and I was like, man, I love that guy's hoodie. I wanted to let him know. And so, yeah, that's how I feel about it. And so let's just briefly look at the chat. We have Mo here. Hello, Mo. Good to have you. Neil came right in time. Joshua also right on time. Brother Daniel, always good to have you. Sending 55. How dare you for that title? We got Jason in the building. We got Barnabas. Oh, we got a fresh 48-year-old in the building, folks. Today is my last Friday of being 25. Yes, I know it's very upsetting. I am, moving towards 30 closer every day. But we have a fresh 48-year-old. He just turned 48 yesterday. Yeah, that was yesterday, right? He says the Queen of Condemnation, Her Royal Majesty, Mrs. Ginny. Hey, you know what the Bible says that, don't praise yourself, let others praise you, right? Brother Daniel says that kid is already a troublemaker. Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh, I can only imagine what I have to deal with as soon as he comes out. Maybe if I love the homos, my pregnancy would be easier. Oh man. I mean, I guess we all have to pick our battles. So maybe that's just going to have to be my battle. Jason says it was a special pregnancy if you're going through more than an average pregnancy. Oh, it will be a special pregnancy. Oh, okay. So I'm cooking up a NBA star. I'm cooking up a first round draft pick for the NFL. Is that what you're telling me, Jason? Barnabas says, just like CT can't not talk about blats, Mrs. Ginny can't talk about the rainbow. I mean, first off, it's June, so I have to talk about them while the time is ripe. They want to make a whole month set out for themselves to raise awareness and to highlight their community. Oh, I'll highlight your community, all right. So don't worry. So yeah, but I was thinking because I also want to thank you guys for showing up, because you could be watching the Red Hot Preaching Conference. And so I caught up on that this morning, the ones that were last night with Pastor I always forget his name, Pastor Porzinski, and Bruce Mejia. And those were great. I really enjoyed both of those sermons. And I was thinking about Pastor Mejia's sermon about why he hates Catholics. And I was like, man, I haven't jumped on a Catholic in a while. I haven't talked about Catholicism since I did my debate with that guy. So I got to get back up here and start smashing some more Catholics down. But that's going to have to wait, because I already have my next few videos planned out. Humble, he says that I have the pregnancy glow. Thank you very much. Brother Daniel says dog sitting for a homo stream. It's fitting. I like to do things themed. Okay. He says that am I just in a random customer's house doing an anti-homo? Well, there's not a random customer. I've had them for a few years. And I feel like she knows that I have, I'm a content creator, but I don't think she's ever watched any of my stuff. But then again, I have no idea, because most of the people that watch me don't comment. And so I have no idea who's watching me. Like, a lady at my church told me recently that she started watching my streams. And I said, really? And she was like, yeah, I've been watching every birthday now. And I said, okay. So I have who knows who's watching me? But yeah, I think she knows I'm a content creator. I don't think she knows exactly what I post. But anyways, friends, we gotta get into this video because it's a really good video, and it's kind of long. It's like 40 minutes. But I mean, hey, it's Friday. We just had Juneteenth. Everybody had a day off this week. I mean, we can relax. We can kick back. We got time to waste. So, there's no rush tonight. I'm here for the night. I'm staying the night. So I'm not in a rush. Hopefully you're not in a rush. So let's get right into it. Let me pull up this video. And I will be because you gotta jump in every so often. And because you can't just let the video run. I don't know if they allow that for Rumble videos, but I know for YouTube videos, you have to kind of break it up every so often. So we're going to jump in at 2 minutes, because that's really where it starts to get into the main information of it. We're not really missing anything. It's just preamble, the first 2 minutes. But so this is a video. I can leave it in the description, or I can send it to you if you want to get the video, because it's very good information. But let's go ahead and jump right into this, so y'all know that, you can hear it straight from the horse's mouth. You don't got to hear from Mrs. Ginny. You don't got to think that Mrs. Ginny is being homophobic or, being bigoted. These people, they'll tell you themselves what they think made them queer. And it's not the fact that they were born that way. It's not the fact that, they just one day, luck of the draw, that they just turned out to be homos. No, friends. It's because they were touched and molested, and they did that to other people, and that's what they became into. But anyways, here we go.
Welcome to On the Edge, where we go undercover, on the street, and into the newsroom to uncover the truth, no matter how controversial it may be. Many do not adequately understand the issue of homosexuality. Recently, I went undercover and asked individuals who identify as gay the following question: do you believe being gay is strictly genetic? What I found was shocking. I learned that many attribute their own sexual orientation to molestation or other traumatic life experiences. After finding out just how many gays claim they are gay because they were molested, I decided to change my script in an attempt to find out who was doing the molesting. What I found was nothing less than horrific. I interviewed individuals at an average gay bar on an average Saturday night, and I discovered that I was literally surrounded by child molesters and victims of molestation. I also learned that old men aren't the only ones doing the molesting. Woefully, I learned that after being molested, many children and teens will go on to teach their friends what they learned from the molester. As you'll see in this video, I learned just how many teen child molesters there are, and how many children are molesting other children in their neighborhoods and at their homes. The content of this video is explicit, but also necessary. Parents and teachers need to be warned. If a child appears to be developing same-sex attraction or a gay identity, it is a red flag that that child may have been molested by an older adult, a teen, or another child. Obviously, not everyone who identifies as gay is a child molester, but many individuals who do identify as gay.
And so let's start it right there. He says that not everyone who's a homosexual is a child molester. And I don't know what I would say to that. I don't know if I would say that I disagree with that. What I would say is, because I'll say what the Bible says. Okay, let's just do that. And that Romans 1 says that reprobates, because that's what homosexuals and pedophiles are. They're both under the umbrella of reprobate. That they are full of all unrighteousness. And so I know that there's like two types of reprobate, especially like I talked about last week, the documentary Psychopath Reprobates. If you watch that, then that's a very good resource for educating yourself about what the Bible says about reprobates and what the world says about psychopaths, and how the world's definition of a psychopath is what the Bible defines as a reprobate. And so there are white collar, psychopaths, and they don't manifest really in the way that the more violent ones will. And so even though, you might have someone who's a psychopath, / reprobate, and they never molest a child, I'm not going to say that they're not, that they've never had that desire, because they're full of all unrighteousness. And so that's really the main thing I want to get across with these videos that I've been doing for the past month. On the topic of reprobates in general, is that, they might not do any one specific thing, but they have that desire. It's in them to do it. They're not above it. Like you'll meet somebody and it's like they would never, cheat on their spouse. They're imperfect. They're a sinner like everybody else. But that's one thing they would never do. That's a line they would never cross, is that they would never cheat on their spouse. There's people like that. Or they would never, murder somebody. I think most of us are like that. We'll do lots of sins, but we'll never murder somebody. A reprobate, nothing's off limits to them. And that's the thing. That's why you cannot trust these people. Your childhood best friend, your cousin, your uncle, your mom, anybody who comes out to you as a homosexual, they are full of all unrighteousness, and they could do anything. And so you don't want to be around when their top blows, and there's a state in which anybody could be mentally brought to doing anything. That is, if they're a reprobate. And so, yeah, I just wanted to add my little tidbit right there, because he says that, and then, I was like, always got to give Mrs. Ginny's stamp of approval on whether or not I agree with what's being said in the video.
Gay were molested. I would like to end with a request. If you are a parent, teacher, or counselor, and you do not know about and fully understand what I'm about to show you, I would urge you to conduct your own research into the connection between early sexual abuse and homosexuality. You should also research imprinting, consciously suppressed memories, and unconsciously repressed memories.
Anything that the gay community does, I'm with them all the way.
Are you gay?
Yes.
Oh, okay. What was your first sexual experience?
Well, mine wasn't very pleasant. I was raped by my brother.
Oh, wow. How old was he?
He was 13 years older than I.
How old were you when it happened?
7.
7 years old? And he was 20? Wow. Is he still alive?
No, he's dead.
Do you think that made you gay?
I think he had a lot to do with it. Afterwards, honestly, I wanted to fuck every man that I could, because I was so young, I wanted to get back at somebody. And that's what made me actually
What's
gay.
the youngest?
Oh, okay. And then another thing I just want to briefly touch on, I'm not going to try to pause it all over the place, because I do kind of want you to get the information, but I try to keep the channel clean for the most part. People come up here and they get a little hog wild, but the video is explicit in some areas, but I feel like that's to be expected due to the subject matter. So if you got kids around, I wouldn't recommend that. So, just heads up.
What's the youngest guy you ever got with, when you were older?
tell you because I'll go to jail. Oh, wow. Well, this is scary because a young man at 12 was humongous. I mean,
How many kids have you hooked up with? Like under 18?
I'm not counting the family.
Not counting family.
A lot. 7? I don't know.
My first sexual experience, oh my god, that was like when I was like literally 8 years old. I was like 8 years old, girl and boy across the street. Like, it was everything. It was like it's really weird because like I think about this day.
Please,
Okay.
yes, I'm doing
Yes, next day. But I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but at the same time, like I know I'm doing something sexual. I was like, oh no, I need to put this. How old are they though? We're all the same age, like 8, 9.
So do you think one of them got molested and then they learned it and then they showed you?
I think if anything, no, I molested them.
You were the active one?
I think I was.
Molested or the active one?
No, I think I was the one who was like, kind of like
initiating it.
Yeah.
But did you get? How did you know about it?
Honestly, I don't know.
I will quickly bring up the issues of consciously suppressed memories and unconsciously repressed memories. Suppression and repression are defense mechanisms. They act to keep information out of conscious awareness. The memories, however, don't just disappear. They continue to influence our behavior. You will see several homosexuals here who initiated sexual contact with other children but don't know how they learned how to do it. It is likely that they have repressed memories of abuse.
What was your first sexual experience? It was, in memory, it was my best friend when I was like 6. How old was your friend? Same age? We were 5 and 6. Who initiated it? You did? How did you know? I just went for it. But like, did you have previous experience where you learned it or no? No, I was just in love with that. And we did it all the time. When you were 6? All the time. That's fucking early. And then I moved from there. He was my neighbor. And then I got another neighbor who was my best friend in school. And then he and I would go at it for like 4 years. And you initiated it. Well, I mean, we both wanted it. How did you? Yeah, but because he was only 6. That was later. That was like 12. But what happened after you stopped doing it with your best friend and then you got none for a while? Did you have withdrawals? I think he always got some. I moved and I always had some. You were molesting all the kids in your neighborhood. All of them. Yeah.
Okay, so, if you guys are paying attention, then this guy is saying that he was molesting his neighbor kids as he was a child. And so I thought this was very eye-opening because, of course, we always hear, and I have another video for you. The next one is a lot shorter. I almost forgot about it. I would have showed that first, but anyways. And what we often hear is, the neighborhood, pedophile. He's the older guy, rides around in a white van, tries to give out candy. Like we're used to that aesthetic of a pedophile, of a predator, that is. But we're often not thinking about kids who are molested and then they become predators while they're still children. And so I never thought about this. And so, watching stuff like this can be depressing. Brother Daniel says that this is very uncomfortable. Yeah, it is. Not the most fun stream ever, but, especially like I know Brother Daniel, he's a parent. I'm about to be a parent. I know Mo Love is a parent. I think some of you in here are parents, if I'm not mistaken. And so, this is good to know because we think like, okay, well, you're not around a whole bunch of crazy adults, you're not around a bunch of strange adults, but I'll let you hang out with other kids, but not so fast. And so, don't get so comfortable trusting that another child will be a safe place for your kid and that, you won't let your kids spend the night at the friend's house, but you'll let them hang over there, go to the park, unsupervised, because the child could be, the call could be coming from inside the house with the kid. And so, I was really shocked when I heard this. I didn't think about that. It never even occurred to me that children would even have the know-how to do this to other kids, but it has to start somewhere. And the Bible does talk about a kid not being a reprobate, but being cursed and being so wicked that their parents get rid of them and they stone them. And so I feel like this would be the kind of child that would do something like that. And Brother Daniel, he says that this is why you don't send your kids to daycare /school /sleep. Yeah. I was telling a friend of mine, because the house that I'm at, not only do I dog sit for them, but I watch their son, and he's like almost 1.5, and she knows me, like we're very close, and she knows I'm a Christian, and I mean that doesn't necessarily mean anything, honestly, but like she knows me, so she feels comfortable with me. That's great. I'm one of the best people she could ever leave a kid with anyway. But I personally, I don't think that I would leave my child with someone until they're old enough to talk. And when I say talk, I mean like communicate clearly, like so-and-so did this, so-and-so went here, so-and-so touched me, like clearly communicate. Like, I don't think I would be comfortable leaving my kid alone with somebody until they're able to do that. Just because, if you can't tell me what happened, then I'm just trusting this person. And you just really can't trust a lot of people, and that's so unfortunate, but that's just the way that it is. And you only have so many chances with your one child. You have other kids, hopefully, but one child, it only takes one time for your child to be destroyed mentally, spiritually, sexually. And so you got to be vigilant. And so it's I mean, it's heavy, but it can be done. Of course, I think most of us here have never been molested, so it can be done, obviously, but you got to be vigilant, even around kids. So I'll let it run again. I'm not going to keep pausing it a whole bunch.
If anybody finds me out, I'm in a lot of trouble. How many people did you have sex with by the time you're like 12? At least 10. Are you serious? Possibly. Somebody was human. They were all just other kids your age. Yeah. But how did you know to first do it? Talk really dirty to each other. Like when you were talk really dirty to each other. But how did you know to do that at 6 years old? How old were you again? How old am I now? No, when you first did it. Around 6. How did you know to do that at 6 years old? If you spent enough time with another kid, like did you see them doing it or some other on TV? It's so natural. It's just like, have you heard of imprinting? Yeah. Like suppress or repress memories at all? Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Have you heard of that? Yeah. There's actually a lot of people have had consciously suppressed or unconsciously repressed memory. Yeah. And that's where they learned it. To where I may have been touched. Yeah. Well, I hope so. I had a hard time with it for a while. Hard time with what? The fact that I was molesting all the kids that, once I grew up. Oh yeah, into my 30s. Then I was like, oh fuck. You had a hard time with the fact that like I had molested all these kids. Basically, we had a lot of fun. But you like initiated it, so you felt like you kind of, but I was responsible. What's your first time sexual experience?
Like ever? It was with a girl when I was like 7. I was like caressing her.
How did you know how to do it? You saw your parents?
It was a lot of petting, literally petting. I was like, you're so beautiful, and I was like kissing her. But I remember like going in there.
So you molested her?
A little bit, but we were the same age.
Yeah.
She was 7 too.
And how did you know how to do that?
I don't know. It's kind of interesting, right? It's kind of maybe.
Do you think you might have suppressed or repressed a memory?
I don't know. It just kind of there was a flow, right?
And did you guys keep doing it over and over again?
No, we just did like twice.
What's your next sexual experience?
My dad.
Your dad molested you?
Yeah.
How old were you at that time?
Like 15.
How did he initiate that?
He was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm just chilling." And I was like, "Okay."
But how did he? Where were you, in the garage?
No, we were actually in the karate studio. My dad's a karate teacher.
Okay.
And he's like, "Hey, do you want to be a black belt?" And I was like, "Sure, give it to me." But my Uber's here, so I gotta go. But
Did you guys ever tell your mom?
No, because she's so jealous. She'll be like,
What was your first sexual experience? How did it go? What happened? It's okay. Yeah, I'm not. No.
it doesn't matter, I think.
Yeah. It was a little bit older guy. Huh?
Yeah.
How old was he?
Yeah, it was only like 5 or 6 years old.
Oh. So you were like 7 and he was like 12?
Yeah.
He initiated it?
Yeah, of course.
What?
Yeah. I didn't put everything together yet.
Do you know his, like, what his history was? Did he get with someone?
I would assume that he did. What? I would guess that he did.
Oh.
Yeah, isn't that the kind of pattern?
The pattern is like a guy, like, to be honest, a guy will molest a kid, and then that kid will do it to other kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so then, so the question on the survey is: do you believe being gay is strictly genetic?
Yeah.
No. No. Okay. Do you? Was there anything in your environment that you would point to as like why you say it's not genetic or you weren't born that way?
Yeah.
You have the same experience or different?
Only my cousins made me gay.
Your cousins made you gay?
Oh.
How old are they?
Around my age.
Okay. And how old were you guys when that happened?
Yeah, probably 10.
Okay. So 80% 14.
I would say 16.
You agree?
Yeah. Maybe 15 and a half with a learner's permit. Greg's not here because Greg's like 8 years old. Like repeatedly, and he liked it.
Wait, what happened to Greg?
His cousin.
Oh, his cousins got with him when he was 8?
Yeah.
And how old were his cousins?
13, 14.
They told him it was wrestling.
There was a club they had. I think it was some young people, like 16, persuade young 11-year-olds. I think it was gay men. It doesn't matter because
It's all the same anyway.
well, you can't get pregnant. If you never get pregnant, then there's no financial
Right. So sometimes I wonder even about the age of consent. What do you think?
Same with me being 15 and the other guy being 26. I mean, I wouldn't have done it. I can't just blame it all on him. It's stupid. Really, it's stupid. He didn't force me to do it.
I think 13 or 14 should be the age of consent. Personally.
Kind of, yeah.
You would say? Yeah. What's the youngest dude you ever got with?
To my age, like different?
Yeah.
I was in the Army, or Air Force. I was stationed in Hawaii, and Eddie, who I knew from there, introduced me that he was 15. I brought him into the bar on Halloween with a mask on and everything, and we all hooked up when I was 17.
17? How old were you?
22.
22. Alright, you were in Hawaii?
What's the oldest?
I was in New York. What was your first sexual experience?
If you're from the South and it was an animal, we understand.
Well, that was racist.
No, it wasn't.
It makes
There was no season bar. If your sexual experience was with an animal in the South, we understand that.
No. I don't. You would have said like my sister in the South. Okay, but you said in the South. No, it was
Families with all boys.
We're just giving you an overview. My first sexual experience was like fourth grade Italian boy playing doctor under the stairwell of our apartment building. How old was he? No, man. But for some reason he knew just like.
What about you? What was your first time? With him.
Really? Wow. Does that make you like 8?
Was it with the teacher?
No. That makes you like 10. How did you guys know to do it though?
He knew. I didn't.
So he got molested and then he did it to you?
Probably. You remember Hurricane Gloria way back? Yes, I worked in a restaurant, and this guy who was like 52 had kids younger than me said, let's take the boat out during the hurricane and ride, because if you let it during the hurricane, it comes up and down on the island, wind up in the middle. So we rode the hurricane out. And in the middle of the hurricane, he tried to melt me.
He tried to ride you while you were about to die.
How old were you? 16.
They were 16 and he was
52.
wow.
And I was like, but he gave me.
He paid you?
Well, because he was,
and you got with him.
He was paying me anyway to go out just on his boat to ride out the hurricane.
Yeah. What was yours? I don't have one.
Oh, you lie. Was there a priest involved?
No.
Swim team coach? Gymnastics coach? Little league coach? My first really sexual was before that sport. We played cards and then we played strip poker.
Did he initiate it or you?
Oh, he was through puberty. I wasn't through puberty.
Well, how old was he?
He's like 3 years old.
He was like 14?
Probably.
And you were?
Like 11.
Oh, yeah.
And wrestled. Now I look at him like, oh my God, he was that. Now I'm like,
you should have wrestled more.
I was an altar boy. I was in the Boy Scouts. I was on the swim team, the gymnastics teams. I never got molested. I want to know why. If I would have known youth was currency back then, oh my God.
What was your first sexual experience?
And so I want to probably do a brief pause again, because this is something that Jason actually mentioned very briefly in the comments. And he said that it can or will be a lifelong struggle that plays in their mind, affecting everything they do to some degree. And I want to agree, because, you know, the reason why pedophilia is you know, even more egregious than just regular molestation or rape of an adult is because children are still forming the world around them. Children are still trying to get stabilized in what they understand as reality to begin with. And so when a child is taken advantage of in this way, or when they are abused in this way, this forever alters their fundamental, basic understanding of reality. You know, and it's so profound. Like when you talk to children, because they're just starting from nothing. They're starting from completely ground zero. And so everything that they experience, everything that you tell them feeds into their understanding of the world, and it will linger with them for the rest of their lives to some degree. You know, and just the other day I was over at my husband and I were over at our friend's house, and they have a daughter. I think she's almost 4. So, you know, she can talk and interact, and she loves having me come over. She calls me Auntie Ginny. And so she calls me that all the time. Like as soon as she sees me, she's like, Auntie Ginny. And she calls me that all the time. She's always calling my name to get my attention because she wants to show me something or do something with me. And she's just like, Auntie Ginny all the time while I'm over there. And we were sitting down about to have dinner over there. And she was looking at me, and we were making eye contact because she called my name. Like, she called my name. She said, Auntie Ginny. I looked at her. She gives me like this blank stare for a second. And she's like, are you Auntie Ginny? And I was just like, yes. And she was like, oh, yeah. And I don't know what happened, but like her mind just blanked for a second, and she just forgot who I was or what my name was. And so you have to constantly reinforce reality to children, okay? It's not just something like they learn it one time and then it's forever settled. Like you have to reinforce it. And so when a child gets molested like this from at a young age, then that forever rocks their understanding of reality. And so it's so fragile when they're so young and their minds are so malleable. You know, that's just one of the reasons why it's just so especially heinous and wicked and vile for these people to take advantage of children, because they just don't know. You know, they can't, like, that's why they can't consent. That's why it's called statutory rape, is because they're not in a mental spot to where they can even know what they're consenting to because they're children. And so, yeah, just that experience the other day, it just made me laugh, because she just looked at me and she was like, "Are you Auntie Ginya?" And I was like, "Yes, I haven't changed." And so, yeah, you know, kids, they need that constant reinforcement of reality, and this destroys it.
You don't remember? You were 5? Who was it with? Was it with an older guy? Another kid? That was like kindergarten or what? So do you think that, did you initiate it or did the other? Did you initiate it or did the other kid? You did? Yeah, I was 3. Oh, you were abused when do you remember it? Yeah. You can remember when you were 3? Absolutely. Wow. I remember the house. I remember exactly what happened. What happened? It was kind of morbid, but one example of what happened, I was, my mom left me with the sitter, and I had gone to the bathroom in my diaper, and she got upset, and she grabbed me from the toilet and put duct tape on my mouth. But I was Wait, why did she do that? Not in your diaper? Yeah. So sweet. She sat you on the toilet or strapped you? She tied you to the toilet. Taped your mouth until you went poop in the toilet? Oh, wow. But she didn't molest you? They didn't molest you, though. Her son did? How old was her son? She abused you. What did he do? How old was he? Oh, he was in his 20s and 30s, and you remember it? That's a bad babysitter, man. Did you tell your parents? When you were 3, did you? Well, I went to child protection. My mom was a fucking. What was your first sexual experience? No bathhouse. Oh, wait, how old were you on your first sexual experience? 4 years old. Really? Yeah. You're a fucking pedophile. Who? My babysitter. Your babysitter was I told my mom that he pissed in my mouth. He was a babysitter. Got raped. Larry Lewis. I won't say that. I want to kill him. I know him. You still know who he is? Yes. Yes, I do. I think about him all the time. I want to kill him. He's on your list. Brad. Hey, I don't blame you. No, seriously? Fuck you. I don't blame you, dude. No, like he's not. What do you mean? He's a so you are who you are today, and you're pretty fucking gay. Pretty fucking gay after all that. That fucking hurt. This name's Larry Lewis, man. Right on the wall. Hey, have you ever told anybody about him? Yeah, I told my mother knew. I'm like 72. They don't do it like that. He would have been done. Today. I didn't even know.
You know, so I told my mom that he pissed in my mouth.
What'd your mom do? Oh, that's good.
She should. With the Huntington Beach police, nothing. Nothing. Holy shit. My dad didn't
I gotta post it because I have ADHD.
If my mom was like, if you were like, a little boy or a girl, my babysitter pissed in my mouth,
I'd murder him.
Those fucking cunts. Huntington Beach police left me out cold. I got rape her as fuck. I'll bet you can tell her. No, it's a big fucking shit. Fucking show.
So do you think?
I don't know. What's wrong with it?
What was your first sexual experience?
On my waterbed with my boyfriend in high school.
Oh, cool. How did you guys meet?
High school. Friend to friend.
And then, did you know you were gay already before that?
Oh yeah, I had sex with boys since I was a kid.
Since you were how old?
I don't know, kindergarten.
But you never had any experiences?
Well, I did, but we're not going to talk about that because there's a...
So you did have an experience prior, but you don't talk about it right now.
What boy didn't?
So who did you have sex with when you were 14?
Oh man, it was the manager of the security.
What security did you?
We had some security staff in school.
Oh, at your school?
He was the manager of the security guys.
So you had, when you were 14, you had sex with the security guard manager at your school?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
I was 14 and he was 32.
You were 14 and he was 32? It was with a little bit older guy or somebody from high school?
He was a school teacher. I was 17. He was 36.
Oh, wow. So 13, you had sex with a girl?
Mm-hmm.
Was she in your neighborhood or what?
She was my brother's friend who picked me up and took me out and got me drunk on vodka. And she was like 17.
And you were how old?
13.
Wow.
She was hot though.
And then I thought you were born gay. You can't think women are hot.
I don't think you were born gay. Didn't you tell me you had a bad experience with your brother molesting?
Oh,
and
yeah.
Did your brother fuck you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boom.
Wait a minute.
I forgot about that.
Wait a minute. What happened? How old were you?
He was having sex with women, and then what happened, Nick?
Oh, go to the
2
bathroom.
minutes. 2 minutes. Yeah, 2 minutes. Oh, we got 2 minutes.
And then what happened?
Nick, it's your turn. Remember? You told me the story 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah, that was a bad experience.
Yeah? Could that have affected you, Nick?
I don't know. I don't think that changed me.
How old were you?
Oh, I was.
I don't know how old you were. You told me the story 20 years ago.
I was like 13, 14.
And your brother had sex with you?
Mm-hmm.
How old was your brother? 17 or 20 or something?
Don't look at me. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know how old his brother is.
So your brother basically, he was over 18, so he basically molested you.
He wasn't 18 yet.
Oh, okay. Dang. Why did he? Is he gay? He considers himself straight. So wait. Oh, see what I mean? It is malleable. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, that's my opinion. But
so then what? Why did your brother do that to his brother?
My brother would do that to anybody. Seriously. My brother is he's not
all there in the head. Wow.
Yeah.
Shoot, man. All right. Well,
how was that for an interview?
Well, this is what I mean when you talk to people and they do
like a Nancy Grace.
But you tell. Yeah.
Here, one last thing. When I was 5 years old, I was playing Truth or Dare on my dad's phone, the 13-year-old guy who was my dad's boat boy dared me to suck his dick. And
See,
so I was
yeah.
5 years. That was
You're
actually
5, and you
so that's
did.
so that's what really did it. I think maybe. Wow. I mean, I don't know. Can't undo that. See, you have to talk to people a while to get them to give you the. Well, I just thought I don't know why. I forgot about that. Something to get about.
I became gay when I was like.
Okay, so we have a couple more people in the chat now. Jay Boogie asks, what is this? And so if you're coming in now, then what we are watching is an undercover, not a documentary, but just an undercover video of a guy going into his local gay bar just on a random Saturday night and interviewing the patrons about what they think the age of consent should be when they had their first sexual experience and how it went down, and if they believe that led to them later becoming homosexuals. And so far, we've heard the dad, we've heard the brother, we've heard the next door neighbor, we've gotten interviews from people who they were the aggressor, they were the initiator, people who were the victims. And so really just a wide gamut of people who got different experiences, and yet they all ended up, homosexual. And even some of them, like one that we just heard, he was molested by a woman. He was molested by an older woman who got him drunk and molested him. And so even that can negatively affect you and contribute to you being confused and end up becoming a reprobate, even though his brother did something to him first, but the woman later on came along and still hurt him. And so CT, he says that he wants the link. I'm not dropping the link yet. I want to get through the video first before we start talking about it or discussing other things. We only have about 10 more minutes left. So if you can stick around, CT, then that'd be great. But if you have to go and then come back, that's fine as well. I'll be dropping the link when the video is done.
I can tell you that for sure that I was molested as a child, and that affected me.
I was molested when I was about 13 years old. Oh, wow. Then the guy that got me, he had a whole little nest. A whole little cubby of different guys? Yeah. Wow. And that was my first sexual experience. You were 13? Yeah. I was grabbed. It was really funny because it was on a weekend. And then I had to go home and spend a week with that family.
Your stepfather sexually abused you.
Yeah.
You just came out and talked about that very recently.
Yeah. It's still hard. My mother had just had a mastectomy. She had breast cancer. And he told me that he thought he felt another lump in her other breast and he needed to feel mine. And reluctantly, I let him, and then it escalated to more and more trying to do more. And then she was out of town and one night tried to break the door down when I was sleeping, and I had to kick a window out and go sleep in a hospital overnight and just stay on the floor. And it's a small town, so I couldn't tell people why I was there. He was a horrible, horrible man.
Your mother continued to stay with him?
She didn't believe me. And then his story kept changing through the years, and she realized he was lying.
There will be people, when they hear this, who may say, that's why she's gay.
Mm-hmm. I think I was gay long before that, I think that, I like men, I like men a lot. My tendency is, and I feel more comfortable with a woman. I think men are great. I had lots of boyfriends in high school.
Yeah, there was even one you wanted to marry.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to marry Ben Heath. Hi, Ben. What the hell am I saying?
How old were you when you got raped?
When I got raped, I was, I want to say 11 or 12. I was old enough to understand.
Wow. I mean, how traumatic was that?
It was real traumatic because I remember, I would never forget, I was snatched up from a little grocery store, a corner store, and he pulled me to the back of the store and raped me on the side of some garbage cans, some city dumpsters. It happened on a Sunday, and I went to school the next day. I was in the lunchroom eating breakfast. Early in the morning, I had just left home. So one of my classmates came to me and said, there's a guy looking for you. And I'm like, wait, what? So I automatically thought of the day before because I knew my family, wasn't looking for me. They had just sent me off to school. So I ran all the way home. My mama, we called the police. They took us to the Chicago police station. We did a sketch of the man. And when the police was telling me that the sketch that I had came up with was a description of the person who had raped other kids, and he had also killed them. So it was like I was the only survivor, I guess, of his wrath. And I guess that's why he came to my school, because he wanted to finish the job, I guess.
I mean, before that happened, were you into men at all, or were you into girls?
Before that happened, I really wasn't into nothing, because I was young. You know, my mother and them, they always made me focus on school and stuff like that. So I never really got into the lifestyle heavily into my teenage years.
You know, I mean, because there's always the you know, there's a very long-standing debate, you know, in the gay community of, you know, are you gay because you're born that way, or are you gay because of certain events that happen in your life? Now, from your point of view, you know, based on this, do you feel that, you know, you became gay because of this, you know, because of the rape?
From my point of view, I don't believe, I can't say that being gay, you're born that way, because you're not. To that question, no, it's you're not born that way. That's just a choice to celebrate sexuality.
Now, at one point, you actually announced that you were no longer gay.
Yes, I did announce that I was no longer gay, but with that being said, sometimes you have to watch what you say, because that was a spur of the moment thing for me. I was already going through some emotional things in my life at the time, and I was just in my feelings, and I was like, you know what? I'm not into homosexuality no more. I'm done with it. I'm trading everything in for family, you know, for love and this, that, and the other. And why did I do that? The media went crazy. So now I had to do all these interviews to clear myself up and explain to people why I did why I said what I said. So, but I learned you have to be careful with what you say, but I did do it.
The disagreement, you know, that happens in society where, you know, gay people tend to say that we were born this way. We have no choice. You know, I mean, it's not, you know, this is just the way we are from birth, and we should have all the same rights as everybody else based on our lifestyle. But, you know, but if you actually say that, you know, this is just a choice, then at that point you kind of take away some of that power a little bit, because if it's a choice, then you could choose to do something else. But most gay activists say, well, it's not a choice. I was just born this way. I have absolutely no say in this.
The activists, they just going off of emotions, and that's where a lot of people get things wrong. They go off on emotions rather than the truth. You know, I know so many people who at one point in time in life were straight and decided, if this girl played me, I'm sick of this, or this dude hit it on me and I kind of liked it, and they became gay. As to some people like me, they're gay and they're changed. You know what I'm saying? And they become heterosexual. But, you know what I'm saying? It's not something that you're born with. It's the circumstances around you. You know what I'm saying? And I believe it's a choice. You just want to celebrate sexuality, and you're using it like you love someone or love the same sex in order to celebrate sexuality, and that's not right.
Okay. And at this point, you're married and you have a son.
No, I'm not married, but I am in a relationship with my baby mama. We've been together for 2 years. Everything is beautiful because she understands my lifestyle before, and she understands my lifestyle today. So that's what makes our relationship strong.
So, I mean, do you feel any sort of attraction to men anymore, or are you just attracted to women?
I'm not attracted to men, but I will tell you, the first year of changing, I did, like, you know, suffer night terrors, and, you know, I'm having visions of my past life, and they do come and hunt you. That is a lifetime of memories and experiences that you just can't wipe away. So I'm going to have those memories and stuff. But as far as me being attracted to a man, no, I love my wife. When I love somebody, I love that person. I don't drift off, whether I'm with a man or with a woman. I don't drift off. And I have to say this, because I feel like I have the right to speak on gay lifestyles because I've been in a lifestyle my entire life. So I feel like I have the right to say, I feel like every time somebody mentions something about gay, the gay group, they just come after you. They send their goons, and you never work in the industry because they are in power. Believe me, they're in power. But, you know, I feel like they just don't want you to speak upon it. When I told them that I wanted to, you know, be straight and have a family and live life, I got more negativity than I did positive. So it's like, I guess certain things is good for certain people at certain times in life when it's convenient for them, you know, but I got dogged out. But, you know, that's cool. I have a strong, you know what I'm saying, skin. I have thick skin. I can deal with almost anything you bring or put on the table. I'm going to deal with it. I guess, you know, to each his own, but I don't support.
It's a case that defies.
Okay, so the video's almost done, but I did want to stop after that. You know, there was a couple things, you know, there was a couple videos in there that got touched on. And so the thing about Ellen DeGeneres is that now, I mean, she's like in her 60s now. I mean, she's old. And so, you know, she's totally in that lifestyle, and you know, but watching that interview and then like listening to the hidden camera interviews from these people, you know, it actually makes you feel really sad for them. And I have a lot of vitriol and hatred towards homosexuals, so don't get me wrong. But I want to kind of leapfrog that off of what Mavid said. And it says that just because you're not born that way doesn't mean they have a choice. And I wouldn't really disagree with that either. You know, I wouldn't say that being queer, because I hate referring to them as gay. If you don't know why, then watch last week's stream. That's on Rumble. But I don't believe that being queer is a choice. You know, I wouldn't say that. You know, I would say that something happens to them, you know, like we've seen from the behind the scenes, you know, undercover interview, that very oftentimes they are molested. Something happens to them, they're traumatized, and then they start to experiment, or they start to get interested in that. And then so, because how someone becomes a reprobate, you know, we gotta go over this every week, it's very important, is that they hate God. That is what happens to them. That's why they develop those feelings. And so, you know, you feel bad for them, because the thing that was the catalyst that set off their hatred of God was them getting attacked and them getting abused. And so you feel so sad for them, because it's like, if that had never happened to you, you probably would have never developed a hatred for God. And then someone could have gotten you saved later on. You know, and so, you know, once someone becomes a homosexual and they become a predator, then they are choosing to do that. You know, they chose to abuse those other people. They chose to victimize others, you know, so that is the choice that they're making, and they don't get any sympathy. You know, they deserve the punishment for their actions. However, it is unfortunate that they were originally victims. You know, that's what I'm saying. And so, I feel bad. I feel bad for people like Ellen DeGeneres. I feel bad for people like Jussie Smollett. I don't know. I don't really keep up with a whole lot of sodomite entertainers. Those are the first two that come to mind. But, you know, anybody like RuPaul, I guess, you know, all these people, you know, I feel bad for them. You know, in a sense that it's unfortunate that they were obviously traumatized, and that's what led to them becoming that way. And that's just another reason why, you know, gotta stress this, is that we need to be out soul winning. Because there are so many times when I've gone to someone's door and the children answer the door, or, you know, it's someone who's obviously under 18, or even someone who's obviously under 12. And I'm like, why are you being allowed to answer the door? But anyways, you know, it's young people who answer the door sometimes. And so when it comes to soul winning, when it comes to children, you know, you want to walk that a little bit more gingerly. You want to ask them if their parents are home. You know, is there an adult around that I can speak to get permission to talk to you? You know, you don't want to just start talking to someone's kid about religion off rip. That can come across as very unwell received. So you got to walk that, you know, finely. But, you know, if you're out in public, you know, and you meet a family and you talk to the kids as well as the parent, then, you know, you can get a kid saved. And, you know, and that kid may have been victimized, that kid may have been abused, but because you got to them before it festered and turned into the hatred of God that it could have turned into, you got them saved. And now they're not going to become a homosexual. They're just going to have to deal with that trauma, and they go to church and they have prayer and they move forward in life. And there are a lot of people who don't become homosexuals who are abused as children as well. So don't forget that. Not every single person who gets abused as a child becomes a God-hating reprobate. Only some do, because there are a lot who are raised in Christian homes or later become Christians and move past that and can have thriving lives and be wonderful soul winners and run after Christ. And so it's not a death sentence to be molested, but it is an extremely bright red flag. And sirens should be going off if you find out that a kid has been molested, or if they start to have queer tendencies, because something very wrong has happened. Something has gone very awry in their life. And so I think that we as Christians, that we should definitely, whatever we do, we need to pray. And we need to pray that God would kill all the pedophiles, that we would have legislation that would not be easy on them. It would not soft shoe them. Like in Germany, they just passed, they decriminalized having child pornography. And it's like, why would anybody ever vote for a bill that would decriminalize having child pornography? The whole entire German government needs to be inspected and needs to have their hard drives looked at. Because this is the kind of stuff that leads to people hating God and becoming reprobates. And so we, as a society, should want everything that, can stop that. But anyways, we got a few more minutes left of this video, and then we have that other one.
Belief and goes against every principle of parenthood. An Australian man and his partner purchased a baby boy in Russia in 2005, presenting themselves as a devoted pair of gay fathers. In reality, behind closed doors, they were sexually abusing the boy and allowing others to do the same from when he was less than 2 years old. On the weekend, Australian citizen Mark Newton was sentenced in the US to 40 years in prison. His partner, Peter Trong, is awaiting his sentence.
I was putting together a series of interviews on gender. This particular interview was with a couple who were gay dads, and they had been on a long journey to have a child via surrogacy.
On all appearances, American man Mark Newton and his Australian partner Peter Trong were a proud couple, pictured here posing with their adopted son, who we will call Boy One. Mark Newton and Peter Trong were masters of deception, starting with finding a surrogate mother abroad.
I gave up my career and my job and went to Russia to oversee the process. So we're very dedicated to making this work. Our budget was anything that we earned, anything that we had saved, and anything that we could borrow to make this happen.
And why was it your sperm that was used, not Pete's, Mark?
Flip of the coin, I think. We'd gone back and forth several times.
This was the first of many lies told by Newton and Trong, whose depraved secret life was uncovered a year and a half later, when in February 2012, the men were arrested in California, charged with producing and sharing child pornography and extreme acts of sexual exploitation.
The purchase of a child to bring the child into your life for the explicit and sole purpose of exploiting him across a network of men is incredibly depraved and a very, very sad tale for that little boy.
The four men form part of a network known broadly as the Boy Lovers Network, men who believe that the sexual abuse and rape of boys from as young as 2 years old to 10 years old is a form of consensual love between man and boy. At its height, this chat board, boylover.net, had 70,000 members worldwide. In 2009, boylover.net was smashed in a series of global raids, with several Australian men arrested.
670 suspects have been identified. 184 arrests have already been made, and 230 children as victims of these terrible crimes have been identified and rescued from further harm.
They are intrinsically networked. They have a very strict code of communication between themselves, and certainly as this case highlighted, their level of cooperation is usually very, very low.
When Task Force Argos raided Trong and Newton's Cairns home in October 2011, a mountain of material was discovered on encrypted hard drives and computer networks. It was handed over to US prosecutors.
It took me personally 1 solid week working 10-hour days to get through all of the child pornography that was just the videos filmed in Australia, in France, and in different places across the United States.
One video showed boy 1 performing sex acts on Newton with a disturbing level of sophistication when he wasn't even 2 years old. When the boy turned 5, in 1 month alone, Newton videoed himself engaging in sexual activity with boy 1 on more than a dozen different occasions.
One way they controlled and manipulated this child was to appear to the outside world as a good parent. And one of the things they did was they trained this child how to answer questions from potential investigators.
US authorities have found videos involving 2 more boys at Trong and Newton's Cairns home.
I can't say too much about the identity of that child. I can say that the victimization of boy 2 occurred in Australia. We can confirm that this conspiracy we allege involving boy 1, boy 2, and others was international in scope.
The authorities are now determined to track down every man who abused boy 1.
With this network, just be rest assured that we will pursue them to the ends of the earth to make sure each and every one of them faces justice for what their role has been in crimes against this child.
I can stay home, and once in a while they let me out.
Okay, so that is the end of our video. Hold on. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, so that's our first video. I can drop the link if anybody wants to come up here and give me their 2 cents. And if anybody wants to share any stories, then we can just have it to where it's your audio and it's not like your picture of you or your video, in case you want to, I guess, maintain a level of anonymity. So there's that. But yeah, so there's the link has now been dropped in case anybody wants to call in. I was talking to my friend and she said that she had a lot she wanted to say, but she and her husband were cooking steaks tonight. So I said, okay, well, I'll let it slide because you're cooking steaks, and steaks are one of the few valid reasons to miss my show. But yeah. And so we do have one other video. But before we get to that, I kind of just wanted to bring some things to people's attention that are things that we've all heard of and that we're all familiar with, but that we just forget in our collective memory, and that we forget that are like right in front of our face. Number 1, NAMBLA. Hello, everybody. Everyone's heard of NAMBLA, right? The National Association for Man-Boy. Wait, the National... I forget. There's 2 A's. So, NAMBLA. That's the North American Man-Boy Love Association. And that's a thing. And their colors, actually, let me just pull them up. So you guys can see what I'm looking at too. Okay. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, and so yeah. Oh wait, you can't see it. I always do that. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay, and so yes, as you can see here, they have their look at their logo. It's rainbow colored. What does that remind you of? Oh yes, the LGBT flag, because they consider themselves a part of the LGBT. Now, if you ask a lot of homos, then they'll say, "Oh no, they're not with us. We don't affiliate. It's not homosexuality. It's not a part of LGBTQ plus-ism. That's separate. And a lot of homosexuals, they'll try to demonize the pedophiles as if those people, those people, they're really bad. That's horrible. And they try to act as if they're so far above the pedophiles, which I find to be hilarious. Because everything that you can say to condemn a pedophile, you could say to condemn homosexuality. The fact that God hates it, the Bible condemns it, Societies have always condemned it for being wicked and gross. Even secular people having a aversion to it. Only thing you could try to say to justify homosexuality over pedophilia is that, oh, well, homosexuality is consensual. And the idea that consent is the only thing that is needed for people to be together is absurd. But that's their only justification. Well, at least the two people who are together in a homosexual relationship, that's because they consented. That's because they want to be together. And it's like, it's still filthy. That doesn't make it right. And that kind of justification is why people say that the age of consent should be lowered. Because they're saying like, oh, a 12-year-old can consent. And so the same justification can be used for these people that has been used in the past for the homosexuals, and it's being used. Folks, we're not talking about something that's way off in the distant future. We're talking about something that's happening right now as we speak. The LGBT is trying to soft shoe pedophilia onto us. They're trying to warm us up to it. They're trying to grease the wheels for this next upcoming phase. Okay. And so I remember back in like when I was younger, like 2008, 2009, like I remember like back then, people would talk about this. Like my dad, he's always been a Republican, so he's always watched Fox News. And I remember them talking about stuff like this years and years ago. I mean, this is going on almost 20 years ago now, folks. 2008, as crazy as that sounds. But I remember them talking about the slippery slope. I remember these conservative talking heads, on conservative radio and on conservative TV shows, they would talk about the slippery slope. How if we start, if we bring in, the homos, if we bring in the queers, we're going to have no defense left for when they try to bring in the pedophiles. And these people thought, oh, you're being so disingenuous. That's not real. That's a fake, the slippery slope is a fallacy. And then here we go. Y'all, it's literally happening right in front of us, and people are still denying it. It's insanity. But we got some fellow Baptists up here that want to chime in and don't want to miss a second of the gay bashing. So we are gonna bring in one of our favorites, Mrs. Wendy the Baptist. Girl, how are you tonight?
Hello, girl. I just saw. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I just saw your link earlier, like maybe 20 minutes ago.
Okay.
30 minutes ago. I was like, I don't know, cause like Facebook didn't say you were live for some reason. I'm exercising, so forgive me.
Okay.
I'm out of breath. I was just hold on. I gotta stop. Hold on. I gotta go lower. Sorry. Man, I can't even think now. I was gonna say that people love like the not people, the LGBT, all these homos. They want to pretend and say that no, I didn't get abused. This just happened. I just born that way. Like that's a lie. And the fact that probably this studies made on this that it is linked to molestation and abuse and all these things that we obviously know by using our brains. Just right.
Yeah.
I apologize. I'm out of breath. But it is sad that because of how the government, how the injustice of this world, how these kids turn out later on to hate the Lord and become the thing that, made them destroy them when they were younger, when they destroy their innocence, And I can speak of experience. I got molested when I was 6 years old. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, and to be honest, it is a traumatic thing. It is that you will never, like, it never goes away. Um, it's something that I know I'm out of breath, so forgive me. But look, the government needs to put these people to death. You know how some of the people said that their person, like the mom and the dad didn't believe them, or like let them, like it's so insane how your own mom doesn't believe you, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
or your own parents don't believe you, and then the government and then the police just like, oh well, we don't have evidence, or oh well, it's kind of like it's wicked. And don't be surprised when God comes and destroys this world.
Mm-hmm.
Innocence is being ruined. um the Bible says that, that the wicked men are exalted, and the reason why is because of the injustice that is in this world. And we can see that every day nowadays. Like pedophilia is just running rampant. They don't care. They take a pedophile, they convict him for like 3 months, then let it out,
Mm-hmm.
knowing even if you look at statistics, they molest more than bunch of people in their lifetime. So
Mm-hmm.
why would you allow something like that continue? Why would we as a society know the studies, know all these things that they keep molesting, that the first time you find them, it's not the first time they have done that.
Yes.
It makes no sense. These people need to be put to death because of logic, because of everything that the Bible says. Not only logic, just the Bible, what the Bible says. We need to protect innocence. We need to give them justice and show, because this is how we can prevent these things. If somebody already gets molested, but when we can prevent this, or at least their downfall on the down spiral of hating God, by putting the laws that's supposed to be, because they will know that sin is a sitting sinful and they weren't at fault. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And obviously, mental help and love and showing in the Bible, getting them saved, all those things. But justice will, you know, help people cope with this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sorry if I'm blabbing because I'm out of breath and my mind is thinking of walking. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Wendy. Of course, that's very personal. But it's good to hear because, like I was just saying a minute ago, about how to be molested is not a death sentence, and there can be people who overcome that through Christ and don't turn to reprobates and don't turn to hating God. And so you are a perfect example. And so, we're all very thankful that you got saved and that Christ has been able to walk with you through that and help you cope with that. Um, and so we have another Baptist in the background. I don't know if you're good or not, but Brother Daniel, are you there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, good. All right. My internet was getting kind of messed up, but I think I found the sweet spot. I'm standing outside right now, so hopefully it doesn't mess up. I
Okay.
totally missed Wendy's testimony. I don't know what you guys just talked about. I was trying to listen, but it kept going in and out, so I don't know. I just missed all that completely. Uh, but yeah, I'm here. So, I had a couple thoughts. Is it okay if I present a couple thoughts to you?
Yeah, the floor is yours.
Okay. All right, cool. So my question is, because I go to an old IFB church and all that, and I think you do too, and a lot of people listen are kind of caught in that boat right now. But
Yeah.
my preacher said something recently, like everyone's born a sinner, and I believe that we're all born with the sin nature. I do believe that, but what are your guys' thoughts as far as is a newborn baby a sinner already? And then also, obviously we believe in an age of accountability where a newborn baby or a small toddler or something like that doesn't understand the things of God or understand the fact that they're a sinner. We know that if they die in an unfortunate situation, they would go to heaven. They wouldn't go to hell for that. But at what point does somebody become a sinner? And I mean, if it's too off topic, that's fine. But I remember something earlier said like they're born that way. So I was just curious. And then I have another topic I want to talk about. But what do you think about that? When does somebody become a sinner? Are they born a sinner, or do they become a sinner when they commit that first sin?
That's a good question. My dad and I, we've talked about that before, about the age of accountability. Um, and so yeah. So for me, I would say, because usually when people say this, we're born sinners, they're quoting that verse. I think that Solomon wrote about how I was shaped in iniquity in my mother's womb, something like that. I don't know it off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
I think that's what they quote, and they'll say like, "Yeah, we're all born in sin." And I think like to an extent, like we're all born with a sin nature, but like you said, like because I believe also that if a child before the age of accountability dies, they go back to heaven. Um, and so what I say is that it's subjective on the person. So like the age of accountability for a child who is of normal development and normal mental capacity would be earlier than a child that is like special needs. So a child who has Down syndrome or autism or like Asperger's or something, like they like everyone, if you can make a decision between choosing right and wrong, then you're going to be held accountable. But their age might be like 5 or 6, whereas a normal child might be like 2 or 3. So I think it depends. But I think like you're not officially like you don't have to pay for the sin debt until you actually do commit your first sin, even though we are born with a sin nature. But Wendy, what do you think about that?
Well, in Romans 7, Paul says that he was alive once without the law, but when sin came, sin revived and he died, or something like that. I'm misquoting it probably, or I'm paraphrasing. Mami, estoy hablando. Hold on, give me a second.
Okay. And I can try to pull up the Bible again so we can pull up our references. But I don't see that verse I was thinking of. Shaped in iniquity. Let's see here. Oh, 262. That's not what I want.
Some people say with that verse that you were talking about, I think it's about David, that he was shaping iniquity or something like that. Some people's interpretation with that, I don't, like I said, I haven't studied that, so I can't say 100% I agree with that interpretation. But but to me, it makes sense. Basically, he's saying that probably the mom of David was just a concubine, or like not a, I don't know if it's David or Solomon. So forgive me if I don't get that right. Basically, that's what is being said, that he was shaped in basically in iniquity because that wasn't the first wife or something.
Okay, I think it was Solomon, but I'm trying to find. Is this it? That's not right. I can't find what I'm looking for. Hold on. I'm gonna have to pull it up on my phone. Sheet. Okay, let's see here. Okay, there we go. Psalms 51. Okay. Oh, hold on. Okay, and it's verses 5 through 10. Okay. Yeah, it says, Behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. Behold, thou desirest truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden part thou shalt make me to know wisdom. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. Make me to hear joy and gladness, that the bones which thou hast broken may rejoice. Hide thy face from my sins, and blot out mine iniquities. So my Baptists are dropping like flies. Oh man, strong internet is not our strong suit. We love strong preaching, but we have a trouble with strong internet. And I certainly know how that goes. But I think that they'll be back, so we can just go over these verses right here to go over Brother Daniel's question, which was, are we born sinners, or do we have to actually commit our first sin to be considered sinners? And so, yeah, I would say that, we do have to commit our first sin. Wendy, are you there? Are you good?
Yeah, hello. I don't know if you could hear me earlier.
No, you went out for a second.
Okay. I was saying that what verse do you read? Just read? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just read 5 through 9.
Behold, this are okay. So in Romans 7, I was saying that it says that. So let me read. So if you want to go there, so people can see on your screen too. Romans
chapter
6.
7.
Yeah, Romans 7 to 7.
Which verses?
We can read 7 through 12, I guess, or 13. I don't know. So it says in verse 6, it says, but now we are delivered from the law, that being dead wherein we were held, that we shall serve in newness of spirit and not in the oldness of the letter. And that's talking about people being saved, right? And then it says, but now we are delivered from the law, that being, sorry, I read that again. What shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid. Nay, I had not known sin, but by the law. So there is making the statement that it's talking about being saved in verse 6, right? But then in verse 7, it says that he wouldn't have known sin and accept the law, right? But by the law. For I have not known loss, except the law had said, thou shalt not covet. Meaning that you can't commit sin into the understanding of right and wrong, basically, until the understanding of the law, right? And then it says, but sin taking occasion by the commandment brought in me all manner of concupiscence, for without the law sin was dead. So it's saying it again. It says that without the law, sin is dead, meaning that sin doesn't exist without the law of God, basically. So then in verse 9 says, for I was alive without the law once, but when the commandment came, sin revived and I died. So basically, without the acknowledgement of I'm a sinner, basically, and obviously the Bible talks about in Romans 2, it talks about that our conscience is bearing witness, right? That we're sinners, basically. That the law is written in our hearts. So nobody can have an excuse like, oh, I never saw the Bible. I never saw the Ten Commandments. I never read the Bible. No, the law is written in our hearts. So that's not an excuse, right? So Paul is saying that um, it says, but sin taking occasion by the commandment brought in me all manner of concupiscence, for I was alive without the law once. So he's saying that at one point in his life, he didn't have any law. He didn't understand it, right? He didn't have the conscience of the understanding of the law. And I would say maybe that's when you're innocent, when you're not like you really don't know. You know how sometimes kids just do, like they look at you and do things like they just do bad or good, just seeing your reaction, because they're learning what your reaction is gonna be, whether it's
Mhm.
gonna be good or whether it's gonna be bad. You know, sometimes they do something bad and you laugh, and then the kid laughs because they don't understand it's bad. So
Right.
a lot of people think it's like when kids do that, they think like, oh, they know exactly what they're doing. No, they don't. They see your reaction to their bad behavior or good behavior, whatever the situation is. Because they don't have a conscious in the sense of the knowledge of sin. If does that make sense? Of good and bad. That's what I mean. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Because people want to talk about this conversation of whether it's nature versus nurture, but I believe that it's both. And so, yeah, we do have the law written on our heart, but when you're a really young child, you're only going off of examples and what other people have taught you. And then eventually you mature and your mind gets um older, and you start to have more understanding.
Yeah. So at some point, there's an age of accountability for I was alive without the loved ones, and that's talking about spiritually alive, right? Like he was sinless basically, and then because that's what is being talked about until until the commandment, until he sinned and the command he understood the commandment basically. So until that point, he was alive, spiritually speaking, right? And then it says, but when the commandment came, sin revived, and I died. And the commandment which was ordained to life, I found to be unto death. And the reason why is because he sinned and he couldn't keep the law. That's basically what Paul is saying. And then it says, for sin taking occasion by the commandment that deceived me, and by it slew me. So he's saying again that the commandment was the thing that killed like him spiritually because he couldn't keep the law, right? He broke the law, right? And then it says, wherefore, wherefore the law is holy, and the commandment is holy and just and good. Was then that which is good made death unto me? God forbid. But sin, that it might be that it might appear, sin working death in me by that which is good, that sin by the commandment might become exceeding sinful. So how I understand that verse is kind of like the reason why we have the commandment and the reason why it slays us is because to tell us that there's none good, none not one, basically. To tell us that we are sinful, right? That we can keep the law. And obviously, to get saved and all that. That's why we get saved, because we realize we're all sinners. We can't keep the law. The law only kills us because none of us can keep the law, and that's why we should receive Jesus as our Savior, um, as a free gift, not by what we can do, because none of us can do enough because all of us are sinners.
Right, right. Okay, so I'm gonna bring Brother Daniel on again. Um, and did that kind of answer your question, or were you looking for something a little different?
I don't know. I totally missed the whole thing. I'm sorry, but I appreciate it.
Not
Uh,
again.
but we could just move on to my second question, I guess. Is that okay?
Okay.
So I mean, I'm just watching this video of all these guys in that bar, and you know, obviously, I mean, they're all a bunch of disgusting human beings, but at what point do we feel bad for them, or at what point are they a victim? Because I totally believe in Leviticus 20:13. I believe in the reprobate doctrine. I understand it, but with the reprobate doctrine, it's not the sin that the committing the act of that sin that makes them a reprobate. It's the fact that they hate God, and then so God gives them over to do that sin. So if they're doing those sins, that could potentially be evidence for the fact that they're a reprobate. So the thing I'm wondering is, at what point do these people become a reprobate? I mean, obviously, like if something bad happens to a 6-year-old boy, are they just immediately a reprobate? Like what makes that happen? Does that make sense? Is
Right.
that
Yeah.
Because I kind of feel bad for some of those guys. I'm hearing their stories. I'm like, I feel bad a little bit. Like my heart kind of goes out to them, but then at the same time, I'm like disgusted with them because they turned around and did it to somebody else too. You know?
Yeah, that's a really good point, and that's what I was kind of touching on near the end of the video, which like with Ellen DeGeneres, because she was saying how when she was a child, her stepfather molested her, and then she admitted, like she literally admitted the fact that she used to like men, and that she kind of admitted to being bisexual, but I don't know if she would claim that anymore. So it shows that it was kind
Yeah.
of like a gradual process. Like she kind of started out liking boys, and then I mean, she didn't draw that connection, but anyone on the outside looking in could draw the connection that your stepfather molested you, and then over time your heart got hardened, and you just became more and more,
Yeah.
your lust for the same sex grew, and then you just continue to hate God more. And so people say that, well, were you born straight? Were you always straight? So therefore, people were born queer, or that, they can't choose to be queer. But it's like, I mean, I don't consider them to be equivalent, because being straight is the default. That's how you're supposed to be. That's the natural.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I think that, because we know how a person actually becomes queer, because it is through a hatred of God, I think that, that there's like a grace period, or like I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, like doing the
Well,
act does. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, if somebody's a homo in the year 1820, I mean, there's probably about 100% chance that they're a reprobate. But if somebody's a homo in 2024, I mean, where is that line? I mean, as far as
Right.
it's popular today, I mean, it's trendy today, and then you have the subject of people being molested. I mean, like, is it possible? And I'm gonna piss off a lot of the new IFB brethren in here and stuff saying this, but like, is it possible that like some of these homos that are out here are not necessarily a reprobate? They're just really confused and mixed up. They were molested and they're just reenacting their trauma. I mean, at what point does somebody become a reprobate? I mean, it's not the act that does it, right? Because we don't believe in like a works-based salvation or anything. It's not the act that does it. It's the hatred of God. So does that 6-year-old boy like subconsciously hate God with like, or if they were molested by their dad or something, like, does that make them hate God? Are there 6-year-old boys that go through that then don't hate God and don't turn around and do it to other people too? Or
I don't
does
know
that
if
make
you
sense
heard,
where I'm going with this?
Daniel. I don't know if you heard what I said earlier. I was molested at 4, and I didn't become a reprobate. So, there's no. You said, when do we get? Of course, you have sympathy for what they went through when they were younger. Of course, that makes you a human
Yeah.
and good human being. But the fact, I don't know how. I mean, beyond the sympathy of it happened to them, and sadly now they're just a pervert. I understand. Like, I have the sympathy of understanding that they went through that when they were younger, and it's not. And if they would have been protected, or somebody, even if it happened and somebody would have stepping up, or the mom would have listened or something, like, I have sympathy for that, of course. Maybe they would have
Yeah.
prevented the down spiral that they were gonna go down to. But I put it this way, right? Because I could have and I couldn't, like, whatever. I think if I didn't get saved, I probably would have, in looking back in my life, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because there's a trauma there, and it doesn't never goes away. Like, so nobody can tell you go to a trauma like that and it goes away. It never goes away. Anyways, I was gonna say that, how I would say that there's a line of, they chose that at some point there, because the Bible is clear, making it there. So, and in Romans 1, when it says they not only do the same but have pleasure in them that do them. So look
Right. Yeah.
back at every response they all gave about them being molested, how they not only, something bad happened to them, but now they only not only do the same, but they have pleasure because they were laughing. They were joking. They were all this. It looked really morbid the way they were talking about rape. It looked
Yeah,
perverted.
fools make a mock at sin. They're mocking it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like notice every response when I was watching it. I just thought how disgusting all of them were sounding. I
yeah,
obviously I feel for a child going through that, but now in the state that they are in their mind, they think it was fine. They think, oh, it's a sexual experience. Listen to it again on your own and see how actually it's what the Bible says. They not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them. So basically, they got molested,
yeah.
and now they have even pleasure on that what happened to them. Even if well, there was one guy that did say that he wanted to kill the guy, of course, because like there's trauma that probably, of course, you're gonna hate someone that would do something like that, but majority of them look like they had no filter for anything that hurt them, like they just
Yeah, some
laughing
dude
and
is
making
walking
a
up to them at the
mockery.
bar. Some guy's walking up to them at the bar, a complete stranger, and he's just like, "Hey, what was your first sexual experience?" And he's like, "Yeah, my babysitter like strapped me to a toilet and like duct taped my face." And like, you're just confessing this to a complete stranger. But see, that's the whole homo lifestyle. Is like, let's just go from stranger to stranger and have this intimate situation. You
Yeah.
know, it's yeah,
And
yeah,
two, you have to remember too what the Bible says in Genesis, that in the old and young surround the house round about. It wasn't just the
yeah,
old man. So
yeah,
there's a, sadly, if we don't protect our children, I don't have children, but if we don't protect our children, it can go to a point where in a childhood they can become a homo, they can become a
yeah,
reprobate and have no chance to go back. There's no chance to go back once you reject God and your conscience is sincere. Like I said, I know even people find it hard to believe that a child can be reprobate, but that's what it's like the Bible says, old and young. It's not, sadly, is I'm not saying that it happens and then you just automatically your life is gonna turn out to be a reprobate. That's not true, because I didn't turn out to be a reprobate, but I could have.
yeah.
That's this, you
Sure.
know.
Well, I really appreciate you kind of opening up and saying a lot of that stuff. I mean, I'm sure it's helping other people. And I also got to say, I'm pretty impressed. It sounds like you finally changed the battery in your smoke detector too. So,
I did not change the battery. I just removed it from the whole thing. My friends were driving me nuts, so I had to do it. I had to just like, you know
okay.
what? That's it. I'm done.
Oh my goodness. So
Thank you for mentioning that. That was funny.
something else to go along with what you were saying, Brother Daniel, is how I think about it a lot, like when it comes to the situation with actors or people who get paid to do things.
hmm
And so like there was this popular movie that came out, I guess like a month ago or 2 months ago now, called Challengers, where there's a scene where these two guys, they're making out. And I don't know those actors.
Boy.
I don't know anything about them, but would it be fair for me to say, oh, they're definitely reprobate because it's two men kissing? And why would a man never kiss another man except for the fact that if he was a reprobate, if he had burned in lust one
Yeah.
toward another? But it's like,
Right.
that was a really high budget movie. They probably both got at least 600, 700, 800K from that movie. And a lot of people are motivated by greed. And so, I mean, and then there's OnlyFans models who, they're not lesbians, but they do stuff with other women on camera for money. And just different people. They'll do stuff like they'll you know I know it's very popular for girls to go to parties, and it's free. Like, they're doing it for free. They're just doing it for attention, where they go and kiss other
hmm
girls. Or if she's like a stripper, she might do a show with another dancer and they're touching each other. And so, like, I feel like there's a lot of examples of people doing things that are queer, that would be considered homosexual acts, but they don't, because the thing is that, because the Bible says that they burned in their lust one towards another. And
Right.
so that's a heart issue, just like they hate God. And so I feel like sometimes we in the new IFB can be a little trigger happy with the reprobate title. And like, we can look at someone and say that, oh, they're a reprobate because they did X, Y, and Z. But that's not exactly the criteria. Your actions aren't
Yeah.
exactly how we base everything, like, because calling someone a reprobate is a heart issue. We're saying that you've been rejected by God because you hate God. And we can't be so quick to make such a damning statement, because that's a railing accusation if that's wrong. And we shouldn't do that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of new IFB, especially like kind of younger preachers coming up and stuff, and I feel like th- it's I understand there's a time to love and a time to hate, and I do believe the reprobate doctrine. I do believe Leviticus 20:13. I believe all that stuff. I'm on board with it. But I do think that there are a lot of new IFB guys that are just trying to be that on that hate train 100% of the time. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I think it's a little bit too extreme, and again, we like the whole reprobate doctrine things. That's not the act that does it. That like they do this act, now they can't be saved. That's not what it is. The doctrine is, if they're doing that act, it's potentially evidence for the fact that they could be reprobate. It's kind of like when people say, if you don't do the works, you're not really saved, kind of thing. It's like, well, that's not necessarily true. But if you do the works, it could potentially be evidence for the fact that you're saved. And I look at the reprobate doctrine the same way, where it's like, if you're an open homo, I mean, marching down the street, there's a chance there that you're probably a reprobate. And so I'm not even willing to risk it. I'm just gonna stay away from you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna reject you. Like, and if Leviticus 20:13 was the law of the land today, like it was in the founding of America, I would agree with that. They should be, because it's like the Bible says, Leviticus 19, love thy neighbor as thyself, right? That's chapter 19. But in chapter 18 and in chapter 20, it says that they shouldn't be our neighbor. And I'm trying to be censored with my speech because we're on YouTube, but they shouldn't exist is the idea,
Yeah.
so they shouldn't be my neighbor in the first place. But I mean, like you're saying, it's very trendy today. It's very popular today. I mean, these actors are getting paid to do this. Like I said earlier, if somebody in the 1820s is a homo, they're probably a reprobate, 100%. But today, if somebody does that act, I mean, there's a chance that they're not. But again, even though I'm not trying to be like 100% hateful all the time and be a major extremist about it, I am going to side with Pastor Anderson and these kind of guys, Pastor Shelley, and whoever who preach hatred against that. I am going to back them up, and I'm going to heed their warning, and I'm going to stay away from those type of people. Like my actual before I got saved, my first roommate was like a homo. I used
Oh,
to
wow.
work at this nightclub. I was a bouncer. I used to work at this nightclub, and like we had several homo friends and lesbians and all different manner of freaks. So, and I grew up in like a liberal household that rejected Christianity, that supported all the homo stuff. I was like a defender of it at one point before I got saved and all that. So like I've been on that complete other side of the spectrum, you know. Um, anyway, I don't know where I'm going with all that, but it's trendy today. It's popular today. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just curious as to what that line is with a child. It's like, you know, I don't know. It's just I'm just trying to provoke thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a child, the likelihood, like child, like mm, you know, I would give really a lot of benefit of the doubt with that, um, because it's a child. Um, but I would try to really help that child understand a lot of things. If something bad happened to them. Um, But I was gonna say, this is actually this story. I have a story for you guys that happened to me. Um, it's so funny because you never think of these things until like years later. When I was in high school, and I was just telling my sister this, that for some reason it just happened to we were talking about this person, And I forgot totally about this story until we were talking about that person. So I had this friend that she was just my a high school friend, and I used to go to her house, and so she was kind of like a whore, to put it in a nice way. I mean, it's not a nice way. She was a whore.
In a
She was
nice way.
I don't know, which is funny because I'm the opposite. I always been the opposite of that. So I don't know why I was friends with her. Maybe because I'm just a child and I'm stupid. But I only had like two friends, so it wasn't like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know why I was friends with her because I was being really selective of my friends. But, anyways, she was a whore. She had a child already. She was like 16, 17, something like that. I don't know. And she already had like a 3-year-old child. Imagine that, or a 4-year-old. I don't even know.
Oh wow.
So, so I remember one time she had a homo friend, and I met him a few times, but he used to give me the creeps. So I was like, okay. But then one day I was at her house and he was there. And she, I don't know what it was. I don't know if they wanted me to drink or something. I don't remember the whole situation, but I remember that they were drinking and just underage drinking. But they're Hispanic, so they don't care that there's no such thing in Hispanic community of underage. That doesn't exist in our community. So I didn't probably see it as a bad thing. And like I wasn't safe or anything. I got safe when I was 21, so I wasn't even safe. And I'm like, okay, I'm just hanging out, whatever. Like I said, this guy I never liked this guy. I always had a weird feeling. And like I said, I didn't know anything. You know when you know, like Jenny, you know when a man gives you the creeps.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. You know exactly that feeling. There's something about it that we know. Like I'm like, I don't know what it is, but I don't. There's something about this guy. So they were drinking, and I was there, hanging out, and it got kind of like they started talking sexually explicit stuff, and she said she kind of made a joke like they have slept together, like her and the homo guy, but I didn't put it like my mind didn't kind of register it. I just like, oh, okay, ha ha ha, and I laughed or something, and they kind of suggested to me because they were trying. I don't know if they were trying to groom me to sleep with them. So they kind of said made a joke and kind of insinuated like, if you want to do that too, we can do that. And then I look back and I'm like, wow, they were trying to. I was telling my sister, wow, they were trying to. And years later, because I don't even like, I wasn't, I don't know why I just it actually registered now of years ago, like from years ago. It registered to me not just now they were trying to groom me, like they were trying to sleep with me.
Yeah.
And I look back, I'm like, they both perverts. And first of all, she was a whole, like, really, like, out there sleeping with guys, like. So looking back, maybe she is a pervert too, so which sleeping with a homo too is weird. I mean,
Yeah.
like, that's disgusting. But anyways, and looking back, I'm like, how can but because I was per se a child, like mentally, I wasn't like registering those things. But looking back now, I'm like, yeah, they were trying to groom me, and they wanted me to drink too, which is accurate. But I wasn't a drinker. I never liked drinking, and I don't like drinking. So it's funny, and then it's funny because that's what the Bible says that these people do.
Mm-hmm.
They want to make you drink to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
So be aware of drinking because that's what these people do. And I bet you anyone that has friends with perverted people, they have wanted to sleep with you. Just look back in your memory because I was thinking that the other day. Yeah, the people that are perverted probably want to take advantage of you.
Absolutely. So, um, let me hold on.
Well, hey, I remember like being in middle school and that Katy Perry song came out, like I kissed a girl and I liked it. And I remember even being worldly and being around other worldly people, people who weren't Christians, and the world was even like shocked and disgusted by that song. But
Yeah.
now that was just like the slow drip. Like now that's become so normalized where it's just normal to for girls to kiss girls. You know what I mean? That's just a normal situation now. And that's what you're saying too, Wendy, about the drinking. It's like it's these little subtle and the grooming, it's like these little subtle things over time. Like that's what grooming is. That's what that song was. That song was like part of the grooming process of the entire like millennial generation, to
And
get them to slowly accept homosexuality.
then this concept, I want to talk about this. This is really, thank you for reminding me of this. This concept, and you're right. This son, there's a concept now between women or in the woman's space that every woman is bisexual or something, or like, or
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
okay to kiss women. First of all, I don't know. First of all, women are disgusting. Like nowadays, women are really disgusting. The fact that like are so open on like accepting homosexuality, because it's because of women that we have accepted so much homosexuality. um and I
Yeah.
just think it's so bizarre. Like I don't think, first of all, I think it's disgusting to kiss another woman. So I don't understand the logic of like, yes, it's so, woman, it's okay, but just because a woman calls another woman beautiful has, or when like just because you find a woman beautiful means nothing, because that's just objective reality. Like just because somebody's gorgeous and a woman finds a woman's gorgeous doesn't mean that that means that they have and this is the propaganda we have, the bisexuality or whatever thing, like for women in specific. I don't know if you heard of that, Jeannie, that there's like this concept that women are bisexual by nature or something like that.
Yeah, I've heard that like all women are secretly bisexual, and that all women would kiss a woman if they have the opportunity or something crazy like that. And I'm just like, who are y'all? Like,
Who
who
are
are
you
y'all
fooling?
getting these opinions from for these statistics? Because I've never, like, I remember Brother Daniel said this one time. He was like, I don't believe statistics because I've never been requested for a statistic. So I don't understand where they get these people from. I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Like, I've never been asked. Don't ask me. I'm not kissing no woman for any reason.
And
Like,
in
what?
Romans 1, in
Oh my
Romans 1 it
god.
says like the women, it mentions women being lesbians before it mentions men. I don't remember the
I
exact verse off the top of my head,
know.
but it says like even they're
Mhm.
women, and then it says and then also they're men. And that's the whole thing, is like in American culture for a long time it's been like, oh yeah, like the girls gone wild and the bikini babes like making out and Katy Perry, I kissed a girl. And then there's like a narrative for a long time of like conservative American men with a beer in their hand being like, I don't like homos unless it's two women. It's like that's been a narrative
It's
for a long time, and it
weird.
starts with the women. It's
Yeah.
more acceptable for some
Mm-hmm.
reason to have the two women doing it. It's less gross in the eyes of the general population,
Yeah.
right?
If
And then
you
now we have
notice,
this movie that you're talking about.
go ahead,
Challengers.
go ahead.
So I was just saying, it's like now we have that movie that you were talking about with the two men kissing or whatever. And then I remember there was like Brokeback Mountain came out like along. It's like,
Yeah.
it starts with the women, and then that once you accept the women, then it starts
Mm-hmm.
being that queer character on the TV show who's goofy or whatever, and then you laugh at it, you make a mock at it, and then next thing you know, we're in a era where men are just walking down the street naked, and sodomizing each other in front of children. That's where we're at now. But that's why I moved out of the city a few years ago. I live out in the middle of nowhere. That's why my internet sucks. I'm like, I don't want to be around. I don't want to live in Sodom.
Yeah. But I was gonna say, um so true. Like you made a great point with how funny. Why does it mention the woman first? And like we can see nowadays, women are the one that accept this grossness, this perversion, and not only that, pornography. is one of the factors of this too. If we allow it, like if it's hot, two women kissing, porn or whatever, then now we can see how even it goes down and it's less because okay, two women is fine for men, let's say, and then the
Yeah.
women are the one guiding now the society per se, and like well, let's accept, let's this because like if you get if you indoctrinate a woman you know, it's easy to move the world per se. You know what I mean? If men actually would take hold of indoctrinating women to the right way, we wouldn't be how we are right now. Like, because a woman
It's
is a
it,
follower. It's every single time she's a follower. She's either following evil or she's gonna be following a man of God or the Bible.
Hmm.
it's just like Eve. Like Eve was the one who ate the apple first. Like she was the one who was deceived. You
Yeah.
know, and then the man turned around and then he willingly ate of the fruit. You know, so
Right.
it's all y'all's fault. You women are the problem with the society. Let me tell
Yeah,
you, you guys
I
you got
agree.
you got to get rid of these voting rights and all this stuff. I'm halfway kidding, but I'm halfway serious. It's like you know,
Take the
but
19th of men away.
You said take the what away?
The 19th of men away.
Oh,
yeah.
oh man. All right. So I'm about to pull up
And
that
maybe we
video.
should take the 13th Amendment away too. Sorry,
Is that talk for black
I
people?
won't go there tonight.
I
I will kick you
didn't know
off
the
here,
13th
Daniel.
Amendment, so I can't even lie. I was like, well, Jenny, you identify as black, so you only is only you're considered there. I'm not considered there.
Yeah. Gosh, he is so ridiculous. Anyways, I'm gonna show our other video for the night. It's the video that you sent me, Wendy, about boys beware. Um, and so this video, it's not nearly as long as our first video, but it is extremely valuable and important. And so this is nothing to do with it. It's the next thing I'm about to show you. But yeah, so here's another video about and this was, because correct me if I'm wrong, but this was put out by the LAPD in the 70s.
The government, yes, this was put out by the government because they be back then they actually used to have a brain. Now they
Yeah.
don't. So
Right. And so here we go. Here's this.
What Jimmy didn't know was that Ralph was sick, a sickness that was not visible like smallpox, but no less dangerous and contagious, a sickness of the mind. You see, Ralph was a homosexual, a person who demands an intimate relationship with members of their own sex. But by now, Jimmy felt a fondness for Ralph, and they continued to go places together. Ralph was generous and took Jimmy many interesting places and did many nice things for him. He bought presents and even gave him money, but payments were expected in return. You see, Jimmy hadn't recognized Ralph's approach soon enough. When Ralph first asked Jimmy to go fishing alone, he should have discussed it with his parents or teacher. Finally, Jimmy told his parents, and they reported it to the juvenile authorities. Ralph was arrested, and Jimmy was released on probation in the custody of his parents. What Jimmy didn't know was that Ralph was sick.
Oh, okay. I thought that was longer. But anyways. So yeah, this was put out by the LAPD in 1961. And so, I mean, folks, this is not something that the fundamental Baptists just came up with in 2015 when the queers got the right to marry. This is something that has been a consistent pattern in society. And I remember I was listening to something on the Breakfast Club. I think somebody was on the Breakfast Club. They had some guest on, and the guest was saying that I forget exactly something, and then eventually the point is that I think this was back when Angela Yee was still on the show, and the guest was saying that such and such should be illegal, just like homosexuality should be illegal. And then Angela Yee, she was like, well, homosexuality has never been illegal in America. And I think it was Dr. Umar, actually. Dr. Umar was the guest. And he was like, well, such and such, and he didn't give her any pushback on it. But the thing is that they're both ignorant because there was a time in America where homosexuality was illegal. And so, yeah, people don't know that. They just don't know the history. Just like my husband and I today, we were in the car and we were talking because at Bible study this past week, my church, they are showing this creation video about the flood and how the Bible, the flood that's accounted in the Bible is the truth, and that's how we can account for a lot of things that we see in our world. And to be an evolutionist is just to be ignorant. I mean, you just don't know what you're talking about. You just don't know actual science. And so we were talking about that, and we were just saying, like, the more you learn about the world and the more you learn about actual science, like, you have to be a creationist. And so the more you learn about actual history, the more you need to just be anti-queer. And one of the examples that I wanted to give for tonight is the example of Pompeii. And so I'm sure we're all familiar with the city of Pompeii, how I can pull that up, about how, it was a town, I believe it was in Italy, that got, very quickly destroyed in a volcanic, it was in Italy, very quickly destroyed in a volcanic eruption. And so let me pull this up for you guys. And when it comes to Pompeii, when you actually do history on it, what you'll find is that it's actually very likely that Pompeii was given over to homosexuality. A lot of different sources have come out and said how they had a very prevalent homosexual population. A lot of pedophilia was going on in Pompeii at the time. And so it's almost like Pompeii was like Sodom and Gomorrah. And so, the reason why it's such an interesting topic, like I remember talking about this a lot when I was like in school. We see like the bodies, they were so well preserved because the town got just completely immersed so quickly with fire and brimstone. And so, yeah, like we have these examples of like, there are people who are like buried holding hands, laying in bed. Is that a statue or is that a real person? That looks like a statue. I don't know. But yeah, the story is just that this volcano erupted and so quickly it just swallowed everybody up. And when you find out the fact that there was a town that was given over to pedophilia, then it makes sense that God would punish them the same way that he did with Sodom and Gomorrah. And so there's that. There's that documentary that came out maybe like 6 or 7 months ago about Nickelodeon called Quiet on Set. I don't know if y'all heard about that, but I heard about that. That was kind of, that was all over social media. Let me pull that up. And yeah, it was all about Dan Schneider and the grooming and the pedophilia that was going on at Nickelodeon. And people were saying how just horrible they felt, that they had no idea that their favorite child actors, were sacrificing their own childhood to provide us ours, and that it just seemed all hunky dory and everything just seemed great. And, it was just, it's a cute little kid show. But behind the scenes, it was devious and it was full of wickedness. And there are so many examples of this. It seems like every other year there's a YouTuber that's getting canceled for doing something inappropriate with a child. Back in the day, it was Shane Dawson. He got exposed for being inappropriate. And of course, he's a homosexual. He and his sodomite partner, they're in the process of like adopting a child right now. So of course we know how that's going to go. James Charles, I haven't heard anything about him lately. But I think he's still floating around somewhere. He's a pedophile. He's groomed children online. And then the most recent one that I could think of was Colleen Ballinger. So that's the one that's Miranda Sings. That's her, character that she plays online. And she was grooming kids online. Like she sent like a kid her underwear or something. Like just very freakish, inappropriate behavior by these people. And for some reason, like I know people have like forgiven her and like moved on from that. But yeah, I mean these people, like it's all over. And of course, who could forget last year's blockbuster, Sound of Freedom. I actually went to go see that in theaters, and I almost never go see movies in theaters anymore, because most movies aren't worth going to go see. And so, yeah, Sound of Freedom came out last year, and all the conservatives were rallying behind it and saying how terrific it was, and the media just hated it for some reason. Just like couldn't stand it, was so against it. Like I heard that movie theaters were like buying out all the seats in the theater so no one could buy seats to go see it. Like just a vitriol towards this movie. And I mean, as a Christian, I didn't like the fact that it was produced by Mormons and was starring a Catholic, but the message of the movie was good. That children are not for sale. I mean, praise God. I mean, that's a good message. No matter who's saying it. But just the level of vitriol that the media had for this movie, it was very telling. Wendy, did you see this movie?
No, I have no interest in watching it.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I heard everybody saying that it's a good movie. Um, but yeah, the Mormon thing kind of pulled me off. Um, I don't know. There's has to be because in the Mormon church is a bunch of incest, pedophilia, and all that. So I don't know why would I, you know what I mean, want to watch that. But I wanted to go back to the video that you show about boys be aware.
Oh yeah.
It's like the 1960s. It's not even like that long ago. It's like your parents or like it's kind of your parents' generation. If your parents were growing up around that time, you know what I mean. It's like it's not even that far away, and clearly how a generation like 20, like you only need 20, 30 years to like make people forget the past. And I
Yeah.
like how the first sentence of that video says it's a sickness of the mind. Why, like that's such a powerful statement, like a sickness of the mind. It is a sickness of the mind.
Yeah.
And it's like the Bible says, they're without conscience. That's the sickness of the mind. They don't have a conscience anymore. Because like, imagine you have to be really perverted and you have to be really wicked to do something to a child. That you're not a human anymore. Why? Like, think about that. Like, who would hurt a child? Who would hurt something that is the most innocent thing that we can have?
Mm-hmm.
Would you? I think that you wouldn't be a person anymore. You would be a monster. And the
Yeah.
fact that we're being desensitized, like the LG, let's blame the LGBT community for desensitizing this crap, and let's stop pretending that they're not part of this crap, because there's a group out there that, I mean, the LGBTs wants to infiltrate everything. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not conservative, like political wise. I'm not conservative, but the conservative party is crap. They're letting themselves being infiltrated by all these perverts, and it's sad because there's a movement. And I want to mention this movement because I like this movement out there called like LGBT for minors or something like that. I don't know if that's the name, but I think that's the name. This movement is so-called conservative movement
Mm.
of the. It's so ridiculous, but they're like defend them like minors and like the LGBT against pedophilia or whatever they want to call themselves. So don't be fooled by these people. Don't be fooled by these people. they are fault for pedophilia. They are fault. Like, even if hypothetically you don't believe homosexuals are the pedophiles or are now offending, even if you believe that, you know, because of their movement being so accepted by society, that's why pedophilia or the maps are getting being able to be this bold. And I think you mentioned this in the beginning of the show. I wasn't here, but I bet you that you made that connection. But it's clear, even if so there's a movement out there called LGBT against pedophilia or LGBT against minors. I don't know what the name of it is. But even if they're against it, by the reason that they are accepted today, that's the same reason why so-called maps or pedophiles are being accepted. So they're at fault, directly at fault, why society is going their way they're going. And the fact that the society is discriminalizing or penalizing it less, or just giving a pat in their back, is wicked, and it's ruining our society and the world. And God hates it. And when God comes down, I hope He destroys the wicked that will, you know, um, touch a child and ruin their innocence. And the Bible says that it's better for those people to tie a millstone around their neck and be dropped in the depth of the sea. These people need to be drowned. Like, I would, to be honest, I would say let's do that to all the pedophiles. Drown them, like tie a millstone and drown them, because I think they would suffer more. So I'm all for the suffering of the wicked.
Absolutely. And like the stories that you were saying earlier about the people that you knew when you were growing up, and how, as you became older, you realized things about them. And like a friend of mine, well, a girl who used to be a friend of mine, when she was my best friend. Like, she was my best friend for most of my life. And we had a falling out over abortion, where she's pro-choice and I'm pro-life, and I said something online and she thought it was really egregious, so we stopped being friends. But she recently got married, and I wasn't invited to the wedding because we're not friends anymore. But we have a mutual friend that went, and she took pictures and she showed me, and like, part of me was really sad that a person who I considered a very dear friend. I don't have any sisters. She doesn't have any sisters, and so we saw each other as sisters. That she got married and I wasn't at her wedding, and for some reason she wasn't at my wedding. I don't know why. We were friends when I got married. I think it's because she just lives out of state, and I got married really fast. I think that's why, because I don't know why I wouldn't have invited her, but like, I didn't go to her wedding, and then I'm about to have this baby and she's not going to be at my shower. And so it's just so weird that the fact that, like, this person that I was so close with, that I loved so dearly, that we're strangers now. And I think about that a lot, and I was really kind of going back and forth with it, about whether or not I should invite her to my shower, and if I should extend an olive branch, because it's been a couple years since we had our falling out. But one thing that I keep thinking about, that keeps rolling around in my head, is, do I really want to be your friend again? It's like, do I want to reconcile our friendship? Because one of her closest friends now is a lesbian. And I'm like, what kind of person would want to be close friends with a reprobate? Yeah, I mean, she doesn't believe the reprobate doctrine. She's not into that. But, why would you want to be so close and so closely affiliated with a lesbian? Like, I just don't, I never understood that. Like, because she's been friends with this girl for a while, and I've met her. And so it's like, the kind of person that you've become, it's like, maybe I'm just in love with the memory of her, and like the memory of how things used to be, because it's like, the person that she's becoming, I'm not even sure I really would want to be your friend again. Because if you're defending the genocide of the unborn, and you're one of your closest friends now is a lesbian, it's like, what kind of person are you? And so, it says a lot about people when like you brought up in Romans chapter 1 where it says that and they that have pleasure and then that do so. It says a lot about a person when they have pleasure in wickedness and when they rejoice in iniquity. And so, it's really unfortunate. And really those are the main people that we have to fight against, because the actual queers make up a very small percentage of society. But it's the people who sympathize, it's the people who have pleasure in unrighteousness, they're the ones that we mainly have to fight against. And so, man, that's just such an uphill battle, and it's just such a tiring battle, because it's like, why are you placating to devils? Like, oh man, it's annoying. And something else I wanted to mention briefly, if I can remember now. That's always so hard, is that when you're talking and you think about something else and then it's like, what was I gonna say also after that? But I think I was gonna mention briefly about, I can't remember now. I'm gonna have to come back to it.
I just wanted to address a comment because Mavid, is that his name? I don't know. He said that basically, because I said about, he said, I don't think they're linked, but pedos are trying to ride on the cocktails of the gays. Most gay people don't support pedos. They hate them. Can you pull up all the screenshots I sent you of the Twitter? Where are
Yeah,
you getting that most gays don't support the pedos? Where are you getting that from? Because that's not true. If they accept fairies. Hold on, let's use logic here. If the pedos, if the homos, not pedos, sorry, if they're the same thing. If the homos accept people for thinking they're animals, what makes you think that they wouldn't accept the pedos? What? The logic ain't logicking. It's not making sense. It's not making sense because these people would upset. The reason why they are they're not riding in the cocktails of the homos. The reason why they are even can be accepted is because of the acceptance of the homos. This is common law, like sense. This is common sense. That is, I don't understand how it's not linked, and
I'm
I
not.
don't understand how the K is like linking the KKK with and Christianity. What? First of all, what? Just
I think
because someone claims to be a Christian, it doesn't mean that they're reading what the Bible is saying. And I like have nothing. The correlation there makes no sense. The KKK and the Christians, it does not like linking. It has the fact that you said that shows your ignorance.
I'm not seeing the pictures that you sent me, because you sent them on Instagram and I'm not seeing them anymore. So I don't know the pictures, because you're talking about the pictures of the tweets by the homos defending the pedophiles, but I'm not seeing them anymore. Let me see if I can pull them up on my phone. But yeah, I think the correlation that he's trying to bring there with the KKK and Christians is that because a lot of, okay, see, I see it on my phone, but I'm not seeing it. Why is it not showing up on my computer? Okay. Okay. I'm seeing them now that you're resending them. Okay. I don't know why it wasn't showing up earlier.
Okay, I have. He's saying to prove it that I have the logic of a 2-year-old. Okay, if the same arguments and the same um if the same methods of accepting the hormones are being used for the maps, how can you not see the whole reason why they could even come out is because they're using in homosexuality. Okay, homosexuality. Let me go back a little bit further back so you can understand logic. Right? Before, homosexuality was illegal. Nobody would have thought of legalizing pedophilia. Never, right? So we're not even that. That thought back then has not even bearings in people's mind. Even homosexuality has no bearings in their minds to be legalized. They use a certain method, propaganda and lies, and obviously became acceptable, and now we're desensitized to it. If you know how desensitized, like how that works, and all these things happen, and now we are where we are. So the process is starting again, but instead of homos, pedophiles doing the same methods and using propaganda to desensitize the population as they're not that bad, because it's okay to be attracted to a child, but because you're not gonna act on it. You're not gonna act on it, and then later on, then they're gonna start criminalizing pedophilia, and then oh well, but now it's decriminalized. It's not against the law, therefore, because that's what the homos did. It's not against the law now. We can be free. So a child, I love the child. They love me, and that's how it happens. If you don't see the exact same thing, if you can't correlate those things, then you need a brain surgeon to help you.
Okay, so I can only pull up one of the pictures that you sent me for some reason, but there's that one that's on the screen now. So, and I'm trying to pull up stuff on Twitter, but all the stuff I'm seeing is like anti-map stuff. So I don't know, but yeah, I see them on my phone, but I'm not seeing them on my laptop.
I see it on your screen. I said, oh, I'm going to go to sleep, guys. Just a reminder, all maps are perfect and valid in the LGBT community. We are proud of them.
Yeah, but that's the only one that's pulling up because you sent me 4 of them. So that's the only one I can see. But so that's just an example of the LGBT. But this person is a map, but they're saying that they're a part. That's what the plus means, and really the plus means anything that they want it to mean. And so, of course, that the zoophiles, the bestiality people, the pedophiles, the foot people, necromancers could be included in the plus, and who's to say that they're not? So, it's just anything. So, yeah, there's that. Okay, something to think about also says he has to show me where pedos are accepted by the LGBT community. Well, there's a lot of smoke screens where people will say like, oh, we don't accept them and that they're not part of us. But there is a sizable and growing portion of the LGBT that accepts the maps because they say that they're victims. And like I was saying earlier in the show is that these people, all of the same reasoning that was used to try to condemn homosexuality, in the early 2000s and whatnot, that kind of just, fell apart at the seams. That's the same logic that people try to use to bash pedophiles, but that the pedophiles are saying, well, that didn't work for them, so why does that work for us? And so people say that, oh, well, it's filthy and it's immoral and stuff like that. And it's like, well, they said the same thing about LGBT, but now it's all accepted. And so it's a soft peddling. And I remember back when I first heard the term MAP, it was by this like professor at ODU. And so I was especially thought it was crazy because I live near ODU. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, like the call's coming from inside the house. And so it was this ODU professor who was talking about how we need to understand and sympathize with these people because they are because they're victims. You know, it's a natural sexual orientation, just like anything else. And so there is a growing section of the LGBT that is accepting these people and saying that they're just another orientation. Now, of course, there's still a sizable collection that condemn them, at least openly. That's also another thing we have to remember, is that they might condemn them openly, but secretly they might consider them their friend, or if they knew a pedophile, they wouldn't report them. And so there's that needs to be remembered. But yeah, these people, they're making strides in the LGBT. They're definitely they're not as hated as they should be. Because even here in Virginia, our previous governor, Ralph Northam, he prides himself on having taken away the death penalty as an option for pedophilia. And so and he's a champion of LGBT rights. And so they go hand in hand. And so people, when a person is pro LGBT, it's very often that they are going to be pro pedo later. And so yeah. Brother Daniel, he says, where's EAE tonight? I think it's so funny when you guys remember each other. You remember your Jeanette siblings. I don't know where EAE is. I'm sure he's going to turn up like as soon as the stream ends and leave a comment and be like, oh, I missed it. There must be some boxing match on tonight, or maybe some basketball game on. He likes watching stuff like that. So there must be something a little bit more pressing on than Mrs.Ginny. But anyways, and he says that pedos and homo sympathizers are not welcome here, or not allowed here. Yeah. This is not an old IFB church. Pedo sympathizers are not welcome.
Miss Ginny, if you type on Google maps, Twitter, all this stuff I send you is gonna come out. That's where I found it.
Oh, okay. Let me go there.
On the pictures, if you go on images.
Okay, let's see here. That's not what I want. Okay. Is that what I want? No. Okay, it's not one either. Okay, that's what I want. Okay, there we go. Okay, is it showing up? Okay, great. All right, so here we go. And this is from an account that says just a map. And it says, I feel like the map community is treated just like the LGBT plus community was in the past. But as society evolved, we came to accept LGBT plus more nowadays. Hopefully, it's just a matter of time before maps are accepted too. Friends, they are trying to warm you up to this stuff. They are trying to soft pedal this on you. Do not be fooled. Do not pass go. It's all of the devil. Oh, snap.
It's funny how they are using exactly the same correlation, the same thing I just said earlier, how because of the LGBT and how they were hated and all these things, the same thing is going to happen to them, because that's the plan. That's the plan of the sensitizing. Can you type, you see that guy there in that corner? I don't know if you ever seen that video. That guy, I would like if you could play that. He's a minor attracted person, so whatever, and he's advocating to discriminalize A lot of, and I think they're non-binary, and like I think it's a woman, trans woman or whatever that is. Um, I wish you can listen to it because it's disgusting.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Old Dominion professor um, is sympathizing with the queers, pedophiles. Hold on, let me pull this up. MIN. Um, okay, let's see here. Of course, there's a lot of reaction videos, but I'm just looking for the video itself. Oh, snap. That's my local news station. Okay, let me pull that up.
Involving Old Dominion University.
Okay.
Another update from a controversy involving Old Dominion University. A professor has been placed on administrative leave after making comments about pedophilia. In an interview with the Protesia Foundation, Dr. Alan Walker argued for the use of the term minor attracted people, or MAPS, to describe people who are attracted to kids instead of the word pedophile. They argue the term MAPS is less stigmatizing since not everyone who is attracted to children will abuse them. Walker stressed that child sexual abuse is never okay and that their goal is to find ways to
Pause.
prevent it. The school says
Miss
that it's
Ginny, can you pause it? Exactly what I said earlier. So obviously they're gonna slowly mentally make you sympathize with them, right? Oh, it's a struggle. It's something in our minds. We're trying our best not to do evil or whatever, right? So people can sympathize. And mainly, hopefully, nobody sympathizes with them, but mainly women probably are going to do this because women are idiots. That's all they are. Majority of women have no brain cells and can think for themselves. I mean, it's true. This is why the world. Why are there so many whores? Because women have no brain cells. Anyways, besides that, I'm sorry. I kind of go always on a rant about women because women piss me off all the time, and I'm a woman, so I can say all these things. They just piss me off. Anyways, going back to what I said, of course they're gonna make you sympathize with them, and because they deprogramming you from what the nature that God gave you. The same thing with the homos. Everybody there's a disgust for that filth in people's heart, but then they got desensitized to it, and then it's less filthy because that's what the Bible says. When we have God in our hearts, when we know the law of God, we make sin exceeding sinful. The Bible says by the commandment. The commandment shows us what's exceeding sinful, and it keeps us away. I mean, it puts in our hearts that fear, right, of the Lord. So what happens is the desensitization that is going to happen or is happening right now as we speak is, oh, we're not going to hurt them, we're not going to touch the kids, we're just struggling, it's the mental battle, we can't help we're born that way. Okay, that's what they're going to say because they're using the same tactics as the homos to desensitize people from what they know is wrong and in their hearts is wrong because God put that in their hearts. Then it's gonna happen once everything they get accepted. Then, well, why don't they let us love whoever we want? Why can we be with a child if the child accepts, likes me and I like them? Why? Da, 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 da. That's the next step. People act like, well, if we accept the first step, I don't think we're gonna go to the second step because that's what homos did. Now it's okay that they struggle with that, and now they can get married. Now they want extra rights. Now all this stuff. People don't use, like, once you give them your hand, they're gonna take the whole body and colonize the whole nation and destroy it too. It's that easy.
Yes.
Sorry for my rant.
No, it's good. And I feel like a perfect example of this that we are taught about in school about the slippery slope that people seem to understand in this regard, but they don't understand it in the regard of the homos is drugs. Alcohol, like beer, is a gateway into, drinking vodka and rum and all that stuff. And people will always say that marijuana is a gateway drug. And to call marijuana a gateway drug is to believe in a slippery slope. That's the whole point. And so we're taught this in school. We're taught about the slippery slope in regards to drugs, and I don't know how schools are now. They're probably handing out blunts in school now, but back when I was in school and in health class, they would talk to us about cigarettes and marijuana. And these are gateway drugs. Tobacco is a gateway drug. You don't want to start smoking cigarettes because everybody who's ever done crack has smoked a cigarette before. And so if you ever want to just mitigate your chances as much as possible of becoming a meth head, then don't ever smoke weed. Because, once you do one, you start going to the next. And, you try cigarettes, or first you try weed, and then you might try shrooms because it's still natural, and then you like that hallucinogenic feeling, and then you might try acid, and then you might try I don't know, all the different drugs, but before you know it, you're on fentanyl. And so it's a slippery slope. And when people understand that, people get that, when it's in the relation of drugs. But then when you start talking about homos and how we should never even let no fault divorce be acceptable in this country. We shouldn't have even let it be to where, feminism was a thing. And so feminism was the gateway drug into letting the queers have rights. And now we're talking about pedophiles. And so that's really what it was. But these are gateway drugs. These are things that lead you onto the harder stuff that really traps you and really has you in bondage. And so many conservatives, like you were saying, Wendy, these feckless, worthless conservatives that aren't conserving anything, they just sat by and did nothing while the homos were becoming more trendy and fashionable on TV, and when they were allowed to get married. And then as soon as Dylan Mulvaney popped up on the scene, as soon as it's drag queens reading books to kids, now all of a sudden you want to get up in arms? It's a joke. We have Dave Rubin and Andy No and Milo Yiannopoulos and all these other fag conservative people, these token conservatives that are, queers. And we had Charlie Kirk, who I think he's doing better now. So I think it's important to give credit where credit is due. But I remember him going on Dave Rubin's show and talking about, oh yeah, I think it's great that you guys can get married and adopt kids and have tax write-offs, and it's great. It's like, you're supposed to be a conservative. And then he brings up, I forget that guy's name, but some black queer up on stage at Turning Point USA, and they're like, and one of the people in the audience, he's like, well, isn't supporting the LGBT very non-conservative? Like, shouldn't we not do that? And then Charlie Kirk, he's like, oh, you don't want this guy in our movement? Like, what do you mean? And half the audience is like, no, we don't want him in our movement. Like, what are you talking about? And so, I consider myself a conservative, but I do understand the issue because a lot of conservatives are just really stupid, and they don't conserve anything, and so it's just a waste of time. But yeah, girl, these people, they just.
Yeah. I wanted to just go on a rant a little bit about something else and related to what you were just saying about the conservatives. The fact that some of the conservatives dress like a woman as a joke, I don't understand. This is when it pissed me off. Making like the Bible says, that fools make a mock of sin. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it says. The fools make a mock of sin. And this is what the conservatives, they don't respect um, uh, righteousness. They don't respect that because if is actual because they don't care about actual righteousness. Oh yeah, it's fine that they get married. It's fine. Let them live however they want. Sounds a little bit Satanist in my opinion, because that's what Satanism teaches: do without will. Why are
Hmm.
you promoting that? Why are you even stating that it's okay for a homo to be a homo? That it's okay that they can marry and do it in the private of their home. You're two concerned adults. That's not what the Bible teaches. The Bible teaches morality, and the Bible's morality is kill the homo, kill the pedophile, kill the adulterer, kill the all those
Kidnappers.
things that says to kill. You know which one? All those things. Kill the rapist. Kill. That's the morality of the Bible. That's what the Bible institute as laws. Anyone that transgress those laws should be put to death for the for the preservation of the morality of the world. The world, not even only a country. For the preservation of a morality of the world. But
Yeah.
they don't care about that because it's all about probably their money. It's all about the politics. It's pretend righteousness. You don't only want righteousness for yours. If you actually know the Bible, if you know what the Bible teaches, you want righteousness for everybody. You don't only want righteousness for yourself. And first of all, it's pretend righteousness because nobody can, if God's law is not enforced, there's no such thing as freedom. There's no such thing as liberty, like the Bible says. Without God and the Word of God, there's no such thing. That doesn't exist unless we actually have the righteousness of God, unless we are enforcing the things that God wants us to enforce.
Yes, absolutely. Um, and so, yeah, there's just so many, you know, different rabbit trails that we could go on talking about this subject because it impacts a lot of different things. Like I was talking about earlier, how I haven't jumped on the Catholics lately. But this is why I feel like so many young people are being attracted and lured in to the Catholic Church because it's a knee-jerk reaction and it's a reflex to all this weird stuff that they see going on in their culture and they're rejecting it. And so it's natural to be young and want to rebel. And when your society is liberal, to rebel is to be conservative. Um, and so there's so many young people who see the weird, freaky liberal stuff and they're like, oh, being Roman Catholic is trad, and being trad is rebellious, and being trad is cool. So I'm going to be trad and I'm going to be Roman Catholic. And it's like, I understand why they are doing this. Like, I understand the motive of wanting to find someone who's wholesome. We're living in a society where women have 50, 60 bodies, and they think it's great, and they think that you're the problem when you say that they're a whore. And so the Catholic Church is like, hey, we're not going to endorse that. We're going to say that women should be chaste. And so that obviously appeals to men. And then a lot of women, they've come out of their drunken stupor of feminism. And they're like, yeah, I actually don't want to work 80 hours every 2 weeks for the rest of my life. I kind of want to stay at home and be provided for. And a lot of Catholic men are standing, waiting in the wings to take some woman and be like, hey, I'll provide for you. And they're like, great, all I have to do is pray to Mary and wear a veil on my head. Sure, I'll be Catholic. And so it's just like, it's Catholicism is just right there waiting to snatch up the young people. And that's one of the main reasons why we need to fight against it so vehemently. And it goes back to this, what we're talking about is our society has been handed over to crazy people. The inmates are running the asylum, and then the normal people, they're revolting against it because they hate it, and they're turning to stuff like Catholicism and the Orthodox Church, and they're jumping out of the frying pan and into the fire because liberals who are pro-choice and socialists and love the fags, they go to the same hell as Catholics do. Okay, so it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. And so that's why we gotta get our priorities straight when it comes to all this stuff. And so yeah, girl, it's just, I mean, it's a never-ending thing that we could talk about, because it's just like, it encompasses everything. Like you said, you give them a hand, they take the whole body. I thought they just wanted to be treated as equal. I thought they just wanted to come out of the closet. Why is my kid learning about anal sex in 2nd grade? Like, where do we lose the plot? So it's too much. Let me go back to this. Let me go back to the Twitter. Okay, let's see here. Okay, let me see here. I'm trying to find another article, but I'm not seeing one. One thing I can pull up is this picture I showed my dad, because I was talking to him about this show on Father's Day this past Sunday, because I tell him that I do a show and he doesn't really understand how to work his phone. He doesn't really know how to get to YouTube. So I'm gonna start sending him my links, and hopefully he can figure that out from there. But yeah, I showed him this picture at dinner, and I was explaining to him, because I was saying how I was going to talk about the show, about how there's a link between homosexuality and pedophiles, and I was saying how, did you know that I think I said more than half, and that's not accurate. It's not more than half. It's a little less than half. That 33% of all queers are child molesters. And so they only make up 1% of the population. They make up 67% of all AIDS cases, 78% of all sexual diseases. Some of it's hard to read. It says they have a lifespan 20 years shorter than normal. 28% of homo men have had 200 partners or more, and 200 is conservative, pun intended. It's probably closer to like 1,000. Can't really read these bottom ones as well. Hold on, let me make my screen bigger. Okay, there we go. It says that rape and sexual assault before the age of 16 are strongly correlated with homosexual behavior. That was what the whole first half of the video of the stream was about. Queers believe that boys' waste disposal unit is a sex organ. It says that slip and slide levels among the queers are significantly higher than heterosexuals. Homosexuality is 3 times more fatal than smoking or obesity. I didn't even read that last one. But yeah. And so I guess we're gonna wrap things up if no one else wants to come up here and chime in. I'm glad that Brother Daniel got to chime in for a little bit. I know that he wants to usually, but that connection of his, that mountain connection, it's not good. But that's all right. And let's see here. Concrete evidence. How do I get rid of this now? Hold on. Okay, here we go. All right, what'd you say? He says, "Are they parading down the street in assless chaps?" Question mark. Concrete evidence. I don't know what y'all are talking about down there. I've kind of lost the conversation. But yeah, folks, that's the stream. I'm over here sitting on a bed. I have no back support, so my back is starting to hurt. But yeah, I think that we've laid a pretty good foundation for the evidence that these people, they're not like us. I know they want to claim that they're just like us and that, you know, they're just like everybody else. They just like people of the same sex. No, they're filthy. They are full of all unrighteousness, so they would do something with children if they had the opportunity. You know, it's so funny. I was just thinking to myself, I was like, you know what? You know, Brother Daniel, he's asking about Beak, but, you know, I mean, as Brother Daniel, he's asking about EAE. I'm like, where's Beak? Beak's supposed to be here. He's always here. Why isn't he in the chat? But like I said, I was like, most people who watch don't comment. So I have no idea who's watching. I probably got exes watching. I probably got my, you know, old high school friends watching. I'm like, what is she up to now? Like, you know, people just, I never know who's watching you. But Beak usually does comment, so that's not fair to say about him. Hey, Ginny's stream is my Cheers. Hey, I used to like that show, Cheers. And then I realized that I can't sit here and watch a show that glorifies alcohol and glorifies wickedness. So I had to stop watching it. He said that he was busy at work, but he was listening in. Oh, it touches my heart. I so appreciate that. I always appreciate when you guys tune in, even if you're not able to be active in the chat or what have you. But just, you know, just listening in is good enough because you're still getting the information and we're still keeping that watch time up, which is very good. And so special update on the channel. My birthday is this Wednesday, so I'll be doing an extra stream this week. I'll be going live on Wednesday. I'm not sure what time, but I will be going live on Wednesday, so keep your eyes peeled for that. You'll be getting a birthday stream out of me. And then, of course, I'll be back on Friday, but I'll be over on the Chaotic Truth channel because I go there the last Friday of the month. And I want to say I know what I'm talking about, but I might pivot. I don't want to pivot because I kind of had everything planned out, but he gave me a good idea that I kind of want to talk about. But we'll see. But I will be over there on Friday. So not over here. Well, I'll probably do a co-stream, so it'll appear over here. But if you want to really get into the fun, then head over to the Chaotic Reacts or the Chaotic Truth channel. I'm not sure which one he'll put it on. But yes. And then what else? Oh, we got to do our weekly bump date. So, oh my goodness. My desk over here is not as big as the one at home. But yes, friends, I am 16 this week. So there is Baby Jones. Not really getting a good look, but here he is. I'll be finding out the gender next week, so we'll be able to see whether or not it's actually a he or if it's a she. You know, people have so many. They're like, oh, because you're so sick, it's definitely a girl, or oh, you're carrying low, so it's definitely a boy. So I don't know, but whatever it is, it's wearing me thin, y'all. It is wearing me thin. Brother Daniel says, where's CT? He was here earlier. He stopped in earlier. He wanted the link. But we were still watching our main video with the guys at the bar. So I didn't want to bring him on just yet because I wanted to finish that before we got too derailed. But yeah, he was here. He popped in. He's pretty good about popping in. So there's that. And I'm trying to think. I always try to remember everything I want to mention to you guys and say everything, and then I forget something. But let's see here. But I think that was everything. I covered everything I wanted to cover for you guys. Let's see here. Hold on. Sorry, my husband's texting me. But let me make sure I check my notes. I was gonna mention that song. I think it came out like 2 years ago. It was like "We're Coming for Your Children." It was like some song by some queer choir or something. It was like an all men's choir, and it was supposed to be satirical, where they were like, "Oh, like this is what people think that we believe, and so we're gonna just make a mock of it." But out of the depths of the heart, the mouth speaks. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But anyways, I'm heading out. So thank you all for watching. Please be sure to leave a like on your way out. And if you missed anything, then please tune back in to catch up on what you missed. And leave a comment. Pretty much nobody leaves a comment after the stream ends. But I know that people are watching it because I get a lot of more views after, I post the stream and after the stream is in the, the rewatch. So if you're watching it, then let me know because I want to know. I want to know who's out there watching. But anyways, so I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your night. I hope that you had a wonderful Juneteenth. I hope you enjoyed your day off, especially if you're white. And I will be sure to talk to you guys again real soon. Good night, y'all.